brother Luxy this time. Can BIGETRON Knights make a comeback this year? Twisted Minds is making their PMGC debut. Their roster is joined by Lord, a 4-time PMGC participant, as well as Coops, the MVP of both EMEA and America's regional tournaments. Since 2021, no other Middle Eastern team has managed to reach the grand finals since Stigma Galaxy. Could Twisted Minds become the second ever Middle Eastern team to do so? Nepal's rising star, HORAA Esports, have only been founded a year ago, but they have been steadily improving, from reaching 14th in the PMGO preliminary stage, 13th in the PMSL CSA Spring, 6th in the PMSL CSA Fall, to being first in the 2024 PUBG Mobile Campus Clutch Nepal. However, they've been thrown into the group of death. Will they survive? Will we see their biggest breakthrough yet? With so many hungry teams in the group, can anyone take down the reigning champion of Alpha 7, or will an underdog surprise us with a breakout performance? Tune in to the PUBG Mobile Esports channels and find out in the first week of the 2024 PMGC group stage, from October 31st until November 3rd at 10:25 UTC +0. Who will be the top 3 teams advancing to the grand finals? This is a showdown you don't want to miss.
Não, troca aí, nem não. aqui é lá embaixo. Voltamos pro Brasil. INCO. Ok.
Yeah.
Nggak ada yang mau diganti?
Enggak, kurang lebih gini lah.
Ya kurang lebih gini lah.
Dah, deal?
Deal?
Deal.
Bom, galera, agora a gente vai falar um pouco sobre os times que a gente colocou aqui. Bom, a gente colocou a gente mesmo primeiro porque a gente sabe que a gente é o time mais preparado. É o time que mais, tenho certeza que é o time que mais merece estar aqui. E fala um pouquinho sobre a Vampire aí, Matheus.
A Vampire é um time muito consistente, eles estão em todos os campeonatos mundiais. Então ele só fica atrás da gente mesmo.
यो चाहिँ हाम्रो फाइनल प्रेडिक्सन रहेको छ र हामीले किन हामीलाई फर्स्टमा राखेको भन्दा किनभने म आफूभन्दा माथि कुनै टिमलाई पनि देख्दिनँ
We put Vampire, DX, and BTR all in the top 5 because Southeast Asia, they're all strong teams. And I think they're the strongest region right now in the world.
It's not misconfidence, I think it's about reality, like the both teams are better than us.
Oke teman-teman, kira-kira ini PMGC prediction dari kami. Kira-kira seperti itu.
Valeu.
Valeu!
Bye bye.
Bye.
We're going to be starting off in second place, tied with points. Stay tuned and find out what's going to happen. Day 3 of Group Yellow.
Well, welcome back, everyone, to the desk here. Jason Kaplan here, joined by Hot Jukes and Max Smith. As we're ready to break down what's happening these last 2 days of play. Gentlemen, it's been an exciting 2 days, I have to say. The days of underdogs, the group of underdogs, maybe we should call it, as you talked about before, Max, as our top dogs are sleeping, maybe, hopefully waking up today. But Max, quick recap. What was your takeaway from yesterday?
I think I have to say MIRAEN and SEJONG, Jason. They're looking great. I'm loving how they played yesterday. The macro rotates, the fights they've been taking. They are on fire, currently tied in first place with Major Pride. Now the question is, are they going to continue today? The answer is yes. More of that.
Yes. More. And if you guys are at home with your bingo card, Max has now officially cursed the team, and now we get to see the downfall of MIRAEN and SEJONG. Hot Jukes, what about you?
Oh, dude, it's crazy. I mean, just looking at that intro video, right? It was so funny watching all the different teams kind of like place where they expected everybody else to be. And I was looking at it, and Major Pride, like on average, was placed in 11th place, right? And they're not in 11th, right? They are in first place right now, or right there. So I mean, it's crazy to watch. I mean, today is the start of the second half for Group Yellow. It's still possible, at least in my eyes, mathematically, for the teams at the bottom to try to make a race for top 3, but that would require just an absolute monster game today, and of course the top teams to also falter as well. But you know what, I mean, it's the last try, I think, for some of these squads to really make something happen here.
Yeah, obviously, you know, the teams we're looking at here in top 3, even maybe a couple a little bit below, should be relatively safe, if not guaranteed safe, going through into, at least at a minimum, the survival stage. But of course, all these teams still going to be fighting for that top 3 placings. If you're unfamiliar with how it works, top 3 gets you straight to the grand finals. 4th through 11th is going to make you into the survival. We have to then place a certain ranking to get through into last chance. We then have to place top 6 to make it into the grand finals in December. But yeah, Xavier here, they unfortunately didn't really increase their rank. I think they kind of fell out as well. Team Spirit, you know, out of like the top 3 teams that I expected, they weren't one of them, and I didn't really expect them to be in a 3rd place position after 2 days. I expected them to be a little bit lower, to be fair.
Yeah, it's heavily carried by Nomi and Effect. These guys are just fragging out. I think currently Nomi is the top 3 fragger in this tournament, and the top 8 is going to be Effect. So both of them are in top 10. They're popping off constantly. They're getting the eliminations on board and just creating great opportunities for the team. Though going over to the second page here of the leaderboards, we talked about a bit, Hot Jukes, here. We're going to focus quite a bit on these bottom teams, because if you want to initiate a comeback to be maybe in top 3, it has to happen today. Top 11, you need to start getting points on board. So right now, looking at those bottom teams, they need to start getting points on board.
They got to. They have to here. But this head-to-head right now between Alpha 7 and Vampire, right? The top dogs that everybody was expecting to really show up here have been underperforming, at least compared to the likes of like maybe SEJONG and, of course, you know, Major Pride. But look at this average. I mean, it's very, very close, except, you know, Vampire's got an extra chicken dinner on hand here, Jason.
Yeah, I mean, it's 6th, 7th place comparison, so they're probably going to be extremely close. I mean, they would have to be if they're going to be 6th and 7th right next to each other in the rankings. Though Vampire, I mean, yesterday did not look good for them. Their best placement was a 4th with 3 eliminations, and then they got like a game with 6 elims.
Alpha 7 too, like these two teams as a whole, Jason, have had a bad day too compared to day 1. Day 1 was fantastic for Alpha 7 and Vampire, getting like 2 chicken dinners for Vampire. Alpha 7 got, of course, a chicken dinner over in that last Miramar, a 2nd place and a 3rd place. Alpha 7, their best game yesterday was a 3rd place, and then 4th place, as you said, for Vampire. So these two teams, they are being overtaken by the competition. DRX got a chicken dinner. Xavier still getting some consistent placements in the late game. Team Spirit getting big elimination matches. And of course, MSJ and Major Pride just always at the top in terms of all elimination and placement points. Alpha 7 and Vampire were looking like the big dogs, right, Hot Jukes, going into this group, but they got competition, and it's not going to be easy to climb their way back up in the top 3.
For sure, especially considering that, you know, Alpha 7 got majority of their points on day 1 in Miramar, and then yesterday we saw them go out early in Miramar, so that's going to be a little tough one here. We are going to have a whole new group of matches today, and what are the odds, Jason, that Major 100%. Pride wins Sandhawk again?
Oh, I don't know. No, it ain't happening again. It ain't happening.
That's it. So just 2 in a row. No chance of 3.
No. If you win 3 in a row, then something. The teams need to look at you and what you're doing, because like Sandhawk, it's not a consistent map for any team out there. It's played only once a day. It's played generally only once a day, if even played at all, when it comes to PMSLs as well. So yeah, no, Max.
I think it could happen.
No, Max, don't
I
do
think
it.
they might get a top 3. I think they could get top 3. A win again is going to be like rough. They'll be the true kings of the jungle. But they had quick rotations, Jukes. We were talking about it yesterday, especially that 2nd Sandhawk we had so far this PMGC. They just, you teams are fighting on like the edge of circle and gatekeeping? Huh? Don't know what that's about. Anyways, dead center and just send it and get to late game, get 3 eliminations off the back of that. So they've got a good game plan for Sandhawk. So I would say they can make it far once again.
Well, obviously, one reason that they are playing so well is, of course, our official smartphone provider here at PMGC 2024, the Infinix GT20 Pro. If you want to play like a pro, pick one of these up, and potentially we could see you at PMGC next year. Hot Chick still doesn't have one. Poor you. It's okay.
I cry every single day.
You'll get
I
one
look
one
in the
day.
mirror in the morning and I'm just like, man, do I wish I was Jason and Max, man? Because I would have
I mean,
that
who
phone,
doesn't wish
but I don't.
they were us? Unless you don't want to have a giant nose and you want to have a head of hair.
I
But of
knew
course,
that was. I was
120
waiting for
FPS
it.
at 140 frames on that screen. Not to mention, you guys at home, you can obviously check us out over on socials, whether it's going to be YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. You can check all of those out, and of course, see all the content they put out as well. There's definitely some really good content coming on YouTube you guys should be checking out. And then also, if you're in the area or even if you're not in the area, you can still pick up tickets to PMGC kicking off the 6th of December through 8th of December. If you get a ticket and you go, you're automatically going to be able to get a sweet skin from the 2024 PMGCs, not to mention all the little activities they have at the event for you, and some even merchandise you can pick up for yourself. But as we do obviously take a look towards what's coming up today, our teams to focus in the day, I put the big three. That's the three I predicted to win the group, just because where are they? What's going on? Like, do we have new top dogs? Do we have like the new best teams in the world here? Obviously, it's just 2 days of play, but I was still expecting them to hit the ground running a little bit better.
Yeah, and I picked the same teams you did, except for BTR. And the only reason why I picked BTR is because, you know, they started off looking so strong, right? I mean, I was really like, oh man, this is the big resurgence of the squad. But then, you know, yesterday we saw a little bit of tapering. But you know what? We're in the second half here. They can definitely bounce back for sure, Max.
Yeah, oh, for sure. They can have a big third day this time around. I'm going to go for... No, MIRAEN, SEJONG, is that a surprise? Not really. We already talked so much about them. I'm not going to linger on MSJ for too long. But Regans Gaming is a team I really wanted to highlight going in this third day. I think they are a really good team when it comes to taking fights. They're very successful, but when you come down to the breakdown of how they get their points, they have a total of 45 points currently. 38 of those points are eliminations. They only have 7 placement points over the course of 12 matches so far. That is insanely low for a team that has shown back in PL that they can rotate so damn efficiently. So I think that transition here from PL to global stage is really rough for them. So right now, they never made a top 3, not even a top 4, Jason. So we need to see some late game placement from this team. Eliminations alone is clearly not going to cut it.
If you saw my face there, I was making some very weird looks because we have been informed by the man live in Kuala Lumpur is going to be sitting out Genfos and Zuxi. BTR not going to be fielding those 2 players. So I think it's not a bad decision, I'd say. Obviously, if you want to try to climb up the leaderboards here, you need to make some sort of change. Obviously, they still are technically qualified right now if we ended things off. But hey, respect the change, and we'll see if it's going to work off for them as well. But then again, looking at Twisted Minds, we didn't see Robs come out when it came to Miramar, which kind of surprised us.
Not sure what's happening there. Again, there's blood in the water, Jason, when it comes down to this team.
Yeah.
I wish I knew what was going on. Maybe I'll have to DM my boy Robs and be like, what's happening, homie? Tell me what's going on? Talk to me.
And then he's like, I'm sorry, I do not understand. You need to speak to me in French.
Tu peux m'expliquer ce qui se passe pour la team de Twisted Minds? Parce que c'est un peu compliqué ce qui se passe en maternelle, non? There you go.
He talks so much smack about us, Jukes.
Yes.
I know French, and he doesn't know that I know. And he was saying that we're like horrible. And he's like, Robs, come save me. Come be on the desk with me.
That's why you've been on Duolingo all that time. Oh, wow, that makes sense. Okay, good job.
I mean, how do you think I knew what Gitoon was?
I should have known. Damn, that was
should have
obvious.
known. And there's definitely another phrase in French I do know that I can't say on air, but you know, Seven would love to
Seven
hear
knows.
it. He knows for sure. As we do take a look at a couple of other teams, I mean, HORAA as well had a pretty, I guess, decent step up yesterday. They had a first place with 7 eliminations, a third place with 9 eliminations, and then a couple of stinker matches thereafter with 15 places with 0 and then 1 elimination. The team from Nepal, Max, you know, I didn't really see them as being a real contestant or challenger, I should say, for top 3, and I think we're kind of seeing that right now. However, seeing them in top 11 is honestly kind of surprised me. I didn't expect them to be stronger than some of the teams that were actually currently below them, like Muerte, like Loops. I mean, I would even have thrown Twisted Minds in there until we saw day 1.
I'm definitely more hopeful for HORAA at the start of day 2, I think it's fair to say. When it comes down to confidence as a whole, HORAA doesn't seem like a team that was very confident entering the first day of PMGC. They were a bit hesitant on their rotations. They were clashing into teams because they were trying to avoid fights as long as possible. And as we know, Jukes, when you avoid fights as long as possible, you are going to be crashing in a team eventually, and you're just going to be completely unprepared. So HORAA here, I feel like built a bit more confidence at the start of day 2, and I want to see that linger in today, but they need to try and get those reps in, because global, that transition again from local to international stage is always so tough.
Yeah, you know,
Hey,
it's
he's
look at
pushing
that.
us
He
away
said,
right
get
now."
out of here, dude. He said, get out of here. We're in first place, dude. Don't look at us. You know, don't jinx us here. But you know, it's so crazy you were saying that because I just keep remembering that fight or that one moment where HORAA like threw like 15 smokes like just to move
Yes.
up like 5 meters. You know, like I love it. That's right. I switched to meters. It's wild to see. You know, I hope that they got to get aggressive at this point. You can look at the leaderboards. People need to start playing towards it. You know, and teams at the bottom, like let's just give a crazy just a crazy thing that could happen, right? Like if Twisted Minds even wanted to make a run for top 3, they know that they have to win like almost every single game today, right?
Pretty much.
So if that's gonna happen, they should play towards it, right? Why not? It's either that or you just give it up and you just say, all right, well, let's just try to make it to the survival stage, which I still think would be possible tomorrow. So in my mind, just why not go for it, Jason, right?
I don't know. I'm about to harsh on you like I harshed on Max when it came to this double point days. You think Twisted Minds just aren't trying, Hotchuk? Is that what you're saying?
No, I think
you
they
saying should
are.
try
I think they
harder?
are, but let's not just try harder. It's just adjust your strategies. You know what I'm saying? Like at a certain point, you got to realize, like, if we need to get, let's just say, like, I'm going to go back to PMWC where we saw like Team Reject needed like a 20-point game and to shut down Alpha 7 in the last match, and they didn't even hot drop them at all. You know what I'm saying? It's like you got to adjust your strategies to play towards the leaderboards. Like, yeah, what you've been doing, it didn't work for the first 2 days. Day 3 comes out, you got to change it up. I hate seeing teams just do the same thing over and over and over, regardless of what the results are.
To really jump on Twisted Minds for the last time here, I think they are trying, Jason, really hard, but individually. There's no
That's a good point.
synergy. There's no communication. They're all like, oh yeah, I'm a strong player. I'm Coops. I'm Robs. I'm all like these strong players that have been star players on all the rosters they've been a part of pretty much for their entire career. And now they're at the point where they're playing together and they want to be the standout players still. But unfortunately, it's not going to work out. You need a squad if you want to stand out. And look at the top teams right now. Like Major Pride, how many of their players win the top 4 fragging list? 3 of them. It shows they're all just working together, bringing the points together and avoiding to do those splits that was such an issue for them back in CSA. They have improved, and we have not seen that improvement yet from Twisted Minds. So, again, it just requires one good conversation between all the players to be like, okay, guys, we're messing up. We need to play together. We need to do some good calls, some good rotates, and just do a play. If it's a good or bad play, we don't care, but do it together. That is what I need to see from this team entering today.
What I took from that was they need to try harder, but as a team.
Yeah.
As if it was a double point day.
Yeah.
If this wasn't PMGC right now, and this is a watch party, I'd be going in even harder on you.
Am I wrong? What?
Well, we can see here, of course, we'll be starting things off on Sandhawk, which, of course, has been Major Pride's victory. You did ask before, Hotchukes, if we expect to see them win yet again. We don't need to dive back into that, but we do need to dive into is thinking back to the times when, well, I guess they weren't Twisted Minds, when Enigma Galaxy back, with Freak, Lord, and Coops, when they were successful on Sandhawk, it came down to that heal strat. And this is what kind of worries me about the team adapting or ever, making those changes, because they didn't really do that when they were Enigma Galaxy with those 3 players. They still kind of played this like really weird style on Sandhawk that just never worked out for them. So if they're going to make changes, obviously, like you're saying, it's got to be today, but it's going to be so tough to change how you've been playing the last 2 days. To the way you need to here in this lobby with how things have been going for them.
I would say here, if they have another bad day, Jukes, right, they're almost out of the race. Like, they can still barely make in top 11, but, like, we need a good day here, right?
You need to have a good day to at least feel comfortable going to tomorrow, because tomorrow is going to be rough. I mean, because you're going to have so many teams just desperate, and you're going to see towards the end squads, like, kind of push each other needlessly. Basically, what I'm trying to say, Jason, is they're going to try harder tomorrow.
I hate both of you.
Right? Everybody else is going to try harder tomorrow. So you got to try hard today. That is what I'm trying to say.
So what Hotchukes is saying is that Twisted Minds just haven't been trying these last 2 days. They're just like, we don't need 4 days.
Trying,
we don't need 4
but they
days
weren't
to
trying
play.
harder. Yeah.
Oh my God, I hate both of you so much. The upside for Twisted Minds, though, they're only 32 points out of top 11. 32 points is easily done in 2 matches. Technically even 1 if you have a really big pop-off game. So they're really not out of the run just yet. Same for HARAME, bro. Same for Regans Gaming, Loops, to Muerte. It is still very possible for there to be a major shakeup towards that part of our leaderboard. It's just whether or not you can make those games happen today.
Oh, it's definitely possible.
But Max Man, right? If you're gonna get 32 points, how you gonna do it?
Please don't say they tried harder.
Say it, Jukes.
Tell us, Max.
I'm saying it. They're gonna try harder.
Yeah. What do they have to do?
They're just gonna try harder.
Points?
Oh
Yeah.
I agree. I agree.
Thank you, Kalaris, for your approval on this comment.
What about another team, INCO? They had a fall off quite a bit here from day one. No. Way Morse code in this. From day 1 to day 2, you were expecting INCO to be top 3, Hot Jukes.
I was. I mean, I thought INCO could do it. I still think they can do it. All right. I mean, they have 66 points, right? It's still in the realm of possibility, especially here with 2 days left to go. But they would need a couple chicken dinners. Like, that is the strat. So it's not necessarily try harder, but there's different things you could do. So just to give you an example, at a certain point towards endgame, right? If you're out of position, you could try to just, hey, wait around, just try to get as many points as possible and go out. Or you could try to make a very risky play to try and win the game. At a certain point, you got to realize we have to take those risks, right? We cannot play it safe no more. And INCO, the reason why I think we see them not in that really top 3, because they've been in great spots, Max, right? But they just don't, they hesitate. That little tiny hesitation has been crushing them.
The thing is, in the lobby like this, that little 5-10 seconds delay because you're hesitating to make a play, those teams are going to punish you for that little delay. They are going to punish you so heavily. They got to a few good finishes yesterday. They got a 3rd place with 6 eliminations, a 4th place with 3 eliminations. They got close so many times, Hot Jukes, but they need to get more confident here. I think they showed they have potential to get the wins and climb up the rankings. We need to see them do well at the start of today.
Well, speaking of start of the day, it's time to kick things off here as we have 2 casters who don't need to try harder because they're always plus ultra. It's going to be John Allen and Blake.
It's time for Try Hard with a Vengeance. That's right, we're going to the airstrip. We've taken off already, and we're going over Sandhawk for the first time today. The 3rd time to the jungle for Group Yellow. We're on board with the Xavier, the plane path, taking us in once more.
Plus Ultra, yeah, that's right, guys. Chicago Smash. Your way into Paradise Resort. Where you got to make it happen.
That's where they all. That's a big Chicago Smash location. That's what DX Xavier are going for.
Yeah.
As we head on RSG, going down towards the south side, towards boot camp potentially. No,
Boot
the
camp,
south of it.
full
with
cow
Team
kick.
Spirit potentially looking to try and United States of Smash their way out of boot camp this time.
True. Max says the London Smash. Gotta be done. Tempted to drop a little ooh on the end of it, but I just steered away from it.
That's right.
Yeah, straight back into the games. 3rd day. I think the guys on the desk, talking a lot about, well, what were they talking about, really? There's a lot of just try harder going on over that side.
Yeah.
I need some constructive
Bruce
feedback.
Willis was great in those films, man. I love that.
Yeah. What? Try hard.
Yeah. Try hard.
True.
That's
Well,
right.
that's kind of good. It's all popping up over towards that top side. ZEUS actually taking fights with 2 teams, I believe.
Yo, did you see that? He just flipped the vehicle up and used the bottom of the vehicle to block the bullets. That was insane tech.
Yeah, that's anime. That's anime right there.
Like, straight up, that actually saved their lives. That's kind of cool. Can I get a replay on that? I don't know if that's possible.
I don't think it saves live.
No, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
No,
then.
but hello.
So.
Yeah, Major Pride. I like this team. I do like the team. I want to see more from them. There was some really good starts for that. And they have got the majority of their points off for a couple of games. Orange?
Oh.
Range.
Federalis.
Doing.
He's getting in there. There's some knives. AZ's getting slashy with it.
Genuinely,
Halloween was 3 days ago. He's not Michael Myers.
I know, it's kind of a weird one as well, where he got shot in the back of the head, and Range was like, "Window? let me just wait a minute. Let me out. Let me out."
No, just wait a minute. Wait. Oh, he's out of ammo. He's nearly out of ammo.
Yeah, I mean, Yappy's coming in. As is
so is
Elementrix,
Elementrix.
though. 30 bullets. Yeah, the
Spooky.
tag on his butt. Take the shots.
Go on, AZ. Throw up the smoke screen.
No.
Oh, Elementary's down. Federalis! Oh! He turns the corner, and there he goes with the knife. Harame, bro. Sink it in between the shoulder blades of Major Pride. And that is a bad start to their day 2. Day 3, even. Goodness me. Losing count.
There's a lot popping off around the map. at this point in time. I mean, Team Spirit already lost a player. Zeus is currently just blasting off into outer space. They've done so much damage to loads of separate teams at the start of this game, which is impressive coming off their good day yesterday. Just the one bullet in the mag, but DBS should do the trick from distance.
Yeah,
been happy.
ADS. Very cool.
Been happy with Zeus. We were very happy with Zeus yesterday. We're still happy today. 8th place right now with 5 eliminations within the first 3 minutes is quite astonishing. And for Zeus, this is a team we wanted to see do well, right, coming into PMGC as that rookie roster. And they weren't doing great towards those first couple of days. I think that was nerves. There's a lot of pressure. And the lads on that roster are quite young at the end of the day, and you're on a LAN format. I think they got a little bit of a taste of that over in EMEA. But yeah, nowhere near as much pressure as here. I mean, all the lights, the stage looks awesome. But it's scary. It's scary. You know that one bad move could be the difference between you going home right now. For PMSL, EMEA, for them, you know, there was that case of trying to get towards those spots on those top sides, but a little less pressure with the difficulty teams on side. So well done to Zeus, and already coming out swinging today is good.
Team Spirit take another knock as they try and get across the river. This boot camp drop just continually being punished. DXavior really looking to turn the screws on them, and it has been a real tough time for Team Spirit on Sandhawk here, being the victims of a lot of pressure so far. DXavior, a main profiter from this behavior. Looks like they're trying to get ahead, trying to cut off this bridge rotation. Nomi should be resable if they can extract Kitsune from this wall side, from the compound down to the south of boot camp. But the nade over the top, the bridge under control. DXavior do have a chokehold on this.
Yeah, it's difficult. It's real difficult for Team Spirit. I mean, it's not the end of the world for them, though. It's just a question of how much do DXavior want to pressure this. Right now, they've only got one player on side, which is Kitsune. It's a good nade, actually. Needs to be a better one. There is a lot of damage to back. I think they both take each other at the same time. That was Matic to be able to get involved there. He's made a long journey down this way. For DXavior, 2 other players aren't really close by, but he's likely calling for a little bit of backup ASAP.
Ooh, I'm not too sure that they needed to go for that peek up to the wall, put more pressure on. I feel like DXavior, they had the back of that compound, they had a lot of control, and they had the bridge as well, but they give a little opening and Team Spirit are ready to pounce. Meanwhile, over in Painan, looks like HARAME Bro and Muerte will be clashing. Muerte down a player. HARAME Bro on all 4 of their players alive. They've already managed to get through that fight that we saw earlier with Major Pride, but Tresley, maybe one step too far, immediately goes for that flush as well. Taken very low by the nade, but gets far enough away to stay alive. Yappy wants to put another one in, but teammates are starting to fall now, and Pusher a priority to get res. Staying as 4 on this crossing is so imperative here. RSG are on the south side, so could be a difference maker here, because they have got HARAME Bro on that south side as well, to maybe third party the rooftops, but Muerte, they're just getting shredded.
I don't even know where he's actually coming from. That was a wild push out for Muerte. Somewhat deserving to lose that fight. 7 minutes, 8 eliminations. HARAME Bro basically have already had a successful game here on Sandhawk. 8 elims, man. It's kind of crazy. Down towards 15th place. Maybe Hot Jukes was right after all. Maybe they did just need to try harder.
Yeah, I mean, that's what happens when you just try hard. It's so much better. This is a pretty nasty shift. I don't think we talked too much about the circle. I don't think we talked too much about the circle shifting as hard southwest as it did. It's forced a lot of these early fights on rotation, pushing in towards that ruins area is where Zeus picked up a lot of their eliminations. Obviously, that Painan engagement that we just saw as well. And now with the circle moving up towards the bridge, towards the Northwest Island, Vampire are the only team up there, and Ruins is a main focal point.
Yeah, there's been so much action towards this early game that it's somewhat difficult to pinpoint what's been happening elsewhere around the map. I mean, Alpha 7 currently moving through 3 eliminations. And yeah, the dinner bell's certainly been rung today in terms of You got to hurry up, guys. If you want to stay towards that top 3, or you want to get towards a position where you're not heading home right now, you need to keep pushing a little bit further. INCO even having themselves an engagement. We're looking over towards HARAME Bro here versus Loot. It's the last 2 players alive. Levi's finds a shot up towards Nova. He's never ending.
They're on 8 eliminations now, and I mean, if they get 2 more, this is a big game for HARAME Bro. Within the first 10 minutes already. A nade over towards Nino, nearly finding the knock, but not quite. It's a really bold push, and there's the nade to back it up from Federales on the off angle. That is an excellent pickup and loops. They're losing players. I don't think you get this one back up. Unless he makes this mad crawl. I mean, that's a surprise that he's been allowed to do that. But over the balcony he goes. Federales giving them the slip and finds another through the window. Neil Zada finally puts a stop to proceedings, but from the staircase, nearly doing some damage there. Loops on the top floor stay up with 3. HARAME Bro 9 eliminations though, and that is a great game for them.
Yeah, I mean, if Federales stays alive for a little bit longer there, that backstab could have been absolutely awesome. It's the fact they were able to turn around and move on to that. But it was well-made pincer move for them because they'd pushed them onto this one building here. Yeah, wow, well done. Well done indeed. BTR, they had an early engagement with ZEUS and now look to get a little bit of payback for their troubles playing in Ruins at the moment, as it does become, like you say, a bit more of a focal point as the circle would lean over towards Ruins, and it's nice to be able to play this position. Again, for BTR, this is more of a safety pick more than anything. With 3 players, you want to go for something like this early on. The Xavier try and fly their way on over. I think a lot of these rotates are misguided. We'll put it that way, right? There's no guidance system on these bad boys because they are running out into the open. I think so much has happened so quickly that, yeah, it's getting fairly hectic inside the lobby. Damage proportions here for BTR with Zuxi down towards 2,000. It's a little bit skewed since Zuxi has had a couple of games where he's been out of the roster, subbed out. But yeah, Lepar still being that star player for the roster at the moment.
Yeah, Leon and Hansel coming in. They have had a couple of entries for BTR over the course of the SEA tournament. Obviously, we saw Hansel at the end of yesterday, so we'll see if they are able to patch up some of the holes that BTR are showing. With 2 eliminations so far, 3 players alive. Pretty central, important position. Alpha 7 out in the blue. They've been here for a while. They have encircled loops now and forced them to stay in Painan. Are we going to the North? A Vampire just absolutely cashed in on this Northwest Island shift here. BTR have left it early and maybe regretting that decision. Team Spirit as well.
Haha, we win.
BTR, prank.
Yeah, I kind of assumed this would actually head over down towards the south side of the map, but sometimes you do get these cruel circles like this, and it has been a consistent factor throughout the entirety of Group Yellow that we have a lot of southern rotating teams. Not a lot of squads are willing to make that approach over towards that north side. MIRAEN SEJONG, they know the call that needs to be made. They fly in over towards Vampires. This is not an easy team to go toe-to-toe with, but finding an initial knock is good. That evens the tide.
1 for 1 on the trade, but a lovely nade around the side from Stones. He's already stepping out, getting underneath the stilts as well, and taking MIRAEN SEJONG down as quick as they can roll up. Stone moves through the building now as well, as Tony K still the only casualty to be found in response. Is there a third party to be found? It doesn't look like it. The nade over to Stone, and Tony K. Hoxie's going big here. Schweppes on the outside has danger breathing down his neck as he goes low. Again, Hoxie dips back. He's the last player for MIRAEN SEJONG, and there's the third party. Team Spirit here to play on the east. BTR have set up on the west side of it, and all of a sudden, Vampire, they've got so many neighbors, they don't know what to do.
Yeah, I think Vampire honestly might have been better off holding that northern compound towards the high ground, because this is just... everyone knows this is most likely free. There's likely only 1 or 2 teams in this location, though it's a strong spot. So for Vampires to like set themselves up so close to the bridge, I think they might have been better off making a play like BTR did, which is over towards that north side and set up that barricade between them and a lot of other teams that will be flying over that bridge shortly. We're down to 11 teams, 32 players. What a weird game this one's been. Very aggressive. Teams understand that now's the time for a limbs, and Vitali goes hard on this fight and will find himself 3 knocks.
Twisted Minds again. Not having a great time against INCO here. We can see in the picture-in-picture Alpha 7 battling their way on the east side of Ruins as well against DX Xavier. They will win that one out. This is an opportunity now, Blank, for Team Spirit, who have managed to get across to the north side to play as three. 3 eliminations already found, and you can see that tables at the top are looking fairly barren right now. There is a good chance for them to jump up. 110 points for MIRAEN SEJONG have been found. And that is where they will look to set their sights. They're 20 points, well, they're 17 points behind at the start of this match. They have 14 more to go.
Yeah, it's one of those games where it's a gifter of a match, right? Where you need to look at this one as a case of it's all moved over towards that northern side. We know a lot of teams rotate on the south. This is a chance for us to have a fantastic game. I think they understood that as well, which is why they played on the north side. They knew they weren't going to have the best of games down towards the south, so they had to gamble on this heading up towards the north. And now with Matic holding that northern compound, he's got a strong spot. But ZEUS is coming in real quick, and the rest of the team will need to regroup fast. I'm imagining Matic does hear the vehicles down the hill here.
This was a pretty crazy rotate from ZEUS, Blank. They started on the compound to the southeast of Ruins. They swung out past Alpha 7, over Painan to the east of Bootcamp, over the north bridge, and now they're coming in on the north side. They're the only team to do this. This is smart. This is heads up from them.
I mean, it's the only reasonable rotate for them, right? If they had the medication to make it happen, why not? They were in stage 3. It was an instantaneous reaction from them. But they knew that Southside, again, it's really tough. And it feels like some of our EMEA teams have a bit better of a grasp right now on those wide wraps, which is cool to see. I think BTR also similarly made a strong rotate. They saw the fighting happening between Vampires and MIRAEN SEJONG. They didn't get involved. Instead, they took a stronger spot on that northern side. For them, consistent points matter more than anything else. Loops do send over. They're looking to keep that vehicle, though. They are looking to keep that vehicle. I mean, it bounced off the bridge like it was some kind of rubber construction.
It was a little bumbly, but we'll see if they can get much further. Team Spirit need to regroup, I think, in about... Well, they want to keep control over this east side crossing, right, despite letting Loops through. And Matic is alone right now for Team Spirit, and the fact that Loops are through now, I feel like you do just have to regroup up towards Matic, but Loops might be ahead of them on this one.
This is one of those Team Spirit plays where they're trying to hold too much space, and I think it'd be absolutely fine as a 4-man, but you've got to consider the amount of squads coming through. Scouting is good at this stage of the game, trying to cause some casualties, some damage towards his team, so your late game's a little bit easier. Definitely important. I think that, you know what? Actually, I don't mind this. Now that I'm thinking about it, I don't mind this. I don't really think that many teams would have assumed that ZEUS would make that play. I think that this is a play that looks bad because ZEUS's cool reaction and creative way of getting around that circle. Because they assume they control the entirety of this high ground. John, that's what I'm trying to get at.
For Team Spirit, is it why they felt confident going for that split?
Yeah.
I think that's fair. That's a good assessment. Of course, we have a map feed. We could see exactly what's going on. This is interesting, and I wonder if they're going to figure, or when they're going to figure this out, right?
Yeah, because if that's the case, then Matic certainly didn't hear the vehicles roll up behind him. That's the only way I can assume this. Yes, they still have a strong position because it is all uphill to get towards that plateau for ZEUS, but they will be covered for the time being. So this is why Team Spirit's getting so aggressive on this eastern side. They will have to now move, and ZEUS has a decent rotate off towards the west. They can play the paddy fields looking over towards BTR. For Team Spirit, for them, life becomes a lot harder. I think that they sort of need to go for more of a sweeping playstyle down towards the low ground, because you can certainly play on what I would call the beachhead on the south side of the map. With Nomi going down, though, that is tough. That is tough.
Yeah, that is very unfortunate timing. For my money, though, I want Alpha 7 to sweep across. Remember, DRX is positioned on the bridge. I feel like Alpha 7 could take this up fairly convincingly, use that terrain cover, try and get some suppression down. It's very difficult, but with Nomi knocked, now's the time to try and make that work. Unless they just want to try and get rid of everybody in this east side and play the outskirts. But either way, I feel like that bridge side is going to be a very strong position to guarantee at least a top 3.
Yeah, for Team Spirit, this has become needlessly aggressive at this point in time. Again, Nomi certainly puts up a lot of those numbers in these games, but that was a bit of a greedy play, specifically because of the timing on the circle, because the Blues about to approach in. I think at that point, peaking so aggressively over towards the far east is not the greatest of ideas. It's a good thing that Kitsune is able to pick up that knock, though, because that does allow them to maybe move out. But Carrillo, the one lone gunner on the team whilst the res goes through, is watching cautiously over towards that north side, and Kitsune might just be able to pass through. He has been spotted, but Matic is consistently keeping eyes on this.
A slow approach from both of these two teams now from this north side. Team Spirit playing as two. A nade over towards Loops, but not going to connect. Not enough. Alpha 7, though. I mean, there's no way that Loops gets away from that rock, right? We'll have to wait and see if he's going to be able to get away with that. Vampire taking shots over towards BTR, and they're holding up very north on this compound, and they're actually invading onto the BTR position. Look at that. They are sending all the way up. They want to take care of their competition, and ZEUS are going to chime in. Team Spirit cut away in the meantime on their westward shift. Alpha 7 freed up a little bit more now, with much less threat from the top of the hill.
Yeah, it's just a serious greed from Team Spirit. I know why they went for it. They wanted more points on board. They get 5 limbs off the back of this game, so it's not the worst situation to be in. But again, with Alpha 7 getting 7 points up to 8 now, this is going to be a game that catapults them towards that top side of the lobby. And I think Team Spirit could have got a lot more done. It's just unfortunate. For ZEUS, though, what a game. What a game from them. So happy with the maneuver they made. Very creative and in-the-moment play as well. This is not something that... Because I think if you had indecision and you were panicking, you wouldn't have made this play. So it feels like they are getting now into the groove of things. I think it was understandable day one for them to be, let's put it plainly, a little bit freaked out by the situation of being in PMGC. It's a scary place. You're playing against some really difficult teams. And a lot of people have stated that Group Yellow is the group of death.
I just want to highlight that from the circle pop on that phase, it took ZEUS about 20 seconds to make that call. That is really fast decision-making, negotiation, and transmission of a plan. Oh, God! From RSG. He's been in the water for a while, but now from the riverbanks, he rises up the hill, and a spray towards Carrillo. He's on the open, but McGrellan has the nade. There's no cover here, and he will go down to the cannons, but Alpha 7 trimmed down to 2.
Absolutely. INCO finding another. That's Vitali over on that western side, and will take down McGrellan. So now down to 1 player in Carrillo. A real veteran of PUBG Mobile, been around for multiple years, over on several different teams. Has to go one-on-one versus Vitali, and it's not happening.
Vampire on the south side of this compound. I mean, they pushed up to deal with BTR. They kind of have trapped this in, and they forced a standoff on this northern side. Only solos on the south. And for Vampire, this is a decent hold. I mean, they had a really unfortunate time on the rock-up from MSJ, and Team Spirit chiming in as well. But they've managed to hold their own. BTR seemingly looking to do the same. Maniac hopping over the wall. Satar the last to stand for BTR, but he's already taken down Eren on the back line, who did fall as he tried to move down from that high ground. ZEUS on 2, Vampire 2 as well. It is ragtag rumble here at the end of Sandhawk.
BTR finally out, and now ZEUS moving in with just Darkin. Like this will drop down into a 2v1. I'm not sure how much further Darkin can go. Nade round the backside will just fall to the spray off some of the bullets, but Alpha 7 at least picked themselves up a 2nd place. What a game from them. Not been easy. And I think that they played some real predator gameplay. They were waiting in the wings a lot of time for their prey to walk on through, and it's just exposing space on the map that they could push through. It's been a very good game from them. I think that, you know, the dichotomy between them as well as Team Spirit is very real with the way that they played much more cautiously and struck where it was possible. The rotate on the vehicle, trying to back that Vampire up into one of the compounds, but yeah, it's not happening. And Vampire picked themselves up their 3rd chicken dinner of the group stage.
The reason that Vampire have been able to take that was the fact that there was really not very much threat from the south side. Everybody who tried to cross the river went down to 1 to 2 players alive, and there just really wasn't that pressure that allowed them to move up toward BTR's compound, take care of that, force that fight to conclude, forcing BTR to the backs to ZEUS as well to take that engagement for them. A really heads-up duo play from Vampire, and they'll reap the rewards for it.
Well, Vampire, I don't know what there is to say necessarily about their position, as the zone should never have gone their way, but they're going to be more than happy about it, as they, I want to say, tried hard in lucking out on that compound. I'm trying to make it a running gag, but maybe we should shut it down. Maybe we should try harder to just stop doing it. But Vampire, they survived the crash of MIRAEN SEJONG, and a win that honestly Vampire really kind of needed to still be in contention for top 3 here, Max.
It was a good idea also from MIRAEN SEJONG. I think I like the idea, Jukes, when it comes down to that crash, but we know as a fact when it comes down to drop locations and where teams like to play, that Vampire are always going to be in a vicinity. When you approach this area, you should always be aware Vampire are lingering somewhere in the shadows, and they are going to be a threat to our rotation. So you've got to be careful, but such a good hold, and unfortunately for MSJ even, Jukes, a little bit of a rough entry point, because that building, you were talking about it during the crash, you can get shot under that building, which that was really the big problem for them on that crash.
It was tough. I think what they were just thinking is like, hey, you know what? We're moving so quick, faster than everybody else, that this is going to be wide open. And no, Vampire was just there waiting for them, and they ended up getting the win there. But I still love that from MSJ, because it goes to show that they're still trying to go for that win. You know, even though they're at the top of the leaderboards, they're looking for that dominant position. They're trying to rotate early, and it just so happens they end up crashing and losing that fight. But you know what? I will always applaud the effort here, because they're doing the same thing that got them to this position, right? They're not just changing their strategies and just trying to, you know, just kind of hold out for top 3.
It was also a really cool moment, because when MSJ were fighting versus Vampire, BTR see that. We don't want to get involved. We're just going to avoid this.
It's like, all right,
we're going to get north
fun,
of you, and we're just going to get a free late game position off the back of that. So good on BTR to understand that is a fight they're not willing to take. But no, some really, really good rotates. But as you said, Jason, the circle should have not gone up there, and 11 out of the 12 teams were not on the Northwest Island when that circle rotated. So most of them got completely obliterated upon phase 3 shift after that. So yeah, this was a really, really bad game for most of the teams.
I liked how ZEUS played it, though. I mean, they were the only team to go for that really wide wrap in towards that Northwest Island, going through mainland as well. Whereas you have like the kind of opposite of that, where Alpha 7, they just kind of chilled back and waited. And Max, you were saying, I mean, their play style was either, if you don't go early, then you're going to be there to backstab teams. And we saw Alpha 7 get a ton of eliminations this game.
Just sweeping teams. It feels good to see Alpha 7 do that here, because they had a bit of a rough day too. So here they were like, okay, we are going to delay the rotate a little bit, but because we're delaying the rotation, playing passive is non-option anymore. We need to go guns blazing in this game, just getting as many eliminations as possible. And when you get eliminations in a situation like Duke, you also clear a ton of space in the process. So Alpha 7, for me, that was the correct approach. Sure, it's not a game-winning approach, but it's an approach that gets you points on the board.
Yeah, and that's what I love, because I mean that's what they're best at. You know, they're the best at when it comes to playing edge. So when it comes down to like realizing, all right, with this kind of hard shift, we're not going to win this game, right? Let's adjust the strats. Let's go and just play edge, put some points on the board, and that's exactly what they did. And this is what I was kind of talking about at the top of the show, right? Like, that was a perfect scenario for them. Now, other teams, right, in certain situations that are so low on the leaderboards, maybe you got to go for that crazy play, right, to try and win the game. But, you know, Alpha 7, they're still solid on the leaderboard, so to put up as many eliminations as they did perfect. Especially in Sandhawk, right?
For themselves with the eliminations we talked about before. And again, to quickly go back to the ZEUS rotation, I mean, you can see 13 points for them, really working out to get them some points where they might not have gotten any, considering how many teams were on that south side.
Such a good rotate from ZEUS. It really enabled them to get so many decent eliminations this game. And especially BTR, right, Jukes, when we're looking at their position, was so split in their compound, which makes you very vulnerable to breaches. It's good for information gathering, but breaches, it isn't quite the way, so they just got picked off one by ZEUS. And that hold was just not quite working out the way BTR expected.
Yeah, really, really unfortunate. I mean, BTR, you know, especially for such a big change and swap in roster, I think that was the kind of like the right play, to be honest. I mean, just, hey, play it safe, put some good points on the board, and just kind of gain your confidence up. So I'm not really too upset with how they played that one.
I don't want to say that was a roster change that got him that many points in this game. I feel like that was just kind of an opportunity.
Oh, I didn't
they
say
took
that.
advantage of it. I kind of want to see how it will play out the rest of the day, though, because they are kind of, at least were, very, very near that bubble. But MVP going to be newsy, of course. I mean, Vampire, like, again, at least for them, considering they were down to 2 players and still a couple of teams left alive, it was good for them to just hold on and then close the game out, because the points they got from this game is really going to help them get up in the leaderboards and potentially break through to top 3.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a top 5, top 4 kind of position, because Team Spirit did get like a few eliminations here, and they're currently the cutoff point when it comes to entering top 3. But yeah, so they're still going to be in top 3. But here you go, Vampire able to jump up to 5th place here with actually the most chicken dinners this tournament so far. Hodrix, 3 chicken dinners on board, currently our top team when it comes to that stat. So looking
Take it to the
really
bank.
solid. Yeah.
Yeah, take it to the bank for sure. It's crazy that they have 3 chicken dinners and aren't in top 3. That's pretty wild, you know, considering. But you know what? I mean, they're right there. 8 points away from 3rd place. Again, you know, top 3 is the goal, folks. That gives you that ticket all the way to the finals. And then 11th place on up, survival stage, everybody else going home. And honestly, that's where my eyes are on, because, you know, these 5 teams, they got to make something happen. I got to give it to HARAME, bro, though. I mean, they got a whole bunch of eliminations in this one. Even though they went out early.
Major Pride and Muerte, and they were still looking to fight even more. They got an extra elimination on the 3rd squad after that, so they had to end their reign of tyranny in this game at some point. It was going to be tough for them to keep players alive, but here you go. Our top also, Grenadiers. Hoxie's still going to be up there, which, no, off the back of that crash, Jason, he couldn't get much done, unfortunately, but we know that Arango and Miramar, the maps where we really know that Mirror and Sejong perform well at, so as we leave Sanhok, I know that this is going to be the maps they're going to try and perform better on.
I mean, Hawks was their MVP yesterday, too, so we're seeing Mirror and Sejong just not only dominate the leaderboards, dominate the MVP. I know we were talking about potentially seeing Nomi up there yesterday, but unfortunately he couldn't make it. He couldn't quite make it with the performance MSJ had. But MSJ, I mean, yeah, I think... I don't know if we've talked about necessarily, but I know we talked about it while we were actually watching the game. Like, that was a game-winning play for them, to just send it right away before any other team did. And just unfortunately they lost out. And I remember, Max, you were saying, like, you like the idea, but the position they took is very nadeable.
It's very nadeable, unfortunately. The entry point is rough because, I mean, Duke's talked about it. You can get shot under the building, which is always going to be a tough situation to get into. And it's so nadeable, so malleable also to some extent. And I think they expected, right, Hodrix, in that situation. Their mind was going to, if we rotate quickly, no one's going to have enough time to get to that spot. I think that was the overarching idea, which is a good spot. And also that compound, let's not forget, right, was the winning compound for Major Pride on yesterday's Sanhok game. So there's definitely a lot of value in that compound. But Vampire, they drop there. They like to play there. Got to be careful. The Vampires are always around to just ruin your day.
For sure. I mean, like I was saying, though, you know, when it comes to that play, I'm not mad at it at all, because they're going for the win. You know what I'm saying? They're still playing for that dub. And a lot of teams, when they're in the top 3 position, sometimes they'll adjust their strategies at this point in the game. They're like, hey, you know what? We got enough points. All we got to do is just put some on the board. You know, we just saw them full send it towards the center. Yeah, unfortunately, they lost that fight. But if they won it, right, they could have easily won that game. So, I mean, sometimes you got to make those coin flip decisions. And I love to see them still playing the game that got them here in the first place.
Well, as we do have our 3 Erangels coming up back to back to back there after this, my focus again going to be looking at BTR INCO, though we didn't have any single hot drop happen yesterday between those 2 teams. It seems like BTR or INCO or both have decided, yeah, we're not going to bother to go for it right away. But one thing I will say is, are we going to continue to have these like quarry zones happen, these southwest zones? I feel like a majority of the Erangels we've had, and keep in mind we've had 6 so far, at least half of them have been very near to the same location.
It's been vampire circles all day, every day.
Right?
They've been, oh, we love it. Man, PMGC is great. We're having great circle log. More of that, please. But I would like to see maybe some military island finishes. I'd like to see some Eastern Circle finishes to see how they would adapt, because I don't think they've been truly tested to the extent we want to see Vampire get tested on an Erangel game. So other circles would be good, Jason. I would be happy to see it. But seeing how it went yesterday, even some of the Miramar games are like in very similar locations. So I don't know what to expect anymore.
expectations.
I mean, I got to agree. I mean, I think that they definitely had a big, like, mounted decline for this tournament, but they have been playing pretty well. There's a lot of times that I think they could have definitely put more points on the board, you know, but you know, that little hesitation we talked about at the top of the show is what's been really, really hurting them. But at the end of the day, they're still putting themselves in great spots. They're making it happen, and they're learning along the way. So I want to see them hopefully improve here. And I mean, for sure, I think we're going to see them in the survival stage, but who knows? Top 3 is still possible.
Very possible indeed. And we do have our 3 Erangels kicking off right here, right now, as we continue day 3 of Group B of the PMGC 2024 League stage with John Allen and Blink.
We are back in for the grassy pastures. Milter Power over towards, looks like almost Zaki on the northwest side, as we are going to be heading southeast to northwest. This is a plane path we haven't seen in a while, Blank. They've all been on the east, or the west side of the map, rather, so it's a little bit refreshing to be going over Milter this time.
Yeah, I mean, we have been very much holding on that western side of the map for a long time now. So it is good to see a bit more of that eastern area. And this will definitely change up drop spots as well and give more opportunity to fill the entirety of the map, because I don't think we've even seen a Lipovka drop so far here on Erangel. So we'll see what the next circle does. Most likely going to be west, right? But I do think that for Vampires, it's a scary one to be winning over on Sandhawk for a lot of squads, just purely because now they'll have momentum going into Erangel, which we know is a strong map for them.
Vampire dropping not over towards Milter Power, rather, here on that east side, early out. Twisted Minds dropping out on the south coast as well. Looks like teams who can sometimes like to drop out on that west side, going to have to readjust here. Twisted Minds going to be dropping on Milter entirely. Potential hot drop around Novo on the south side, over towards the military island, and the circle will keep us out to the east as well. HARAME Bro and Muerte on that south could come into contact with one another. RSG surrounded by Team Spirit right now and want to get out of there as fast as they can. Oh, maybe not.
RSG. Yeah, I mean, it's a good shot to start things off for Nomi.
Ooh.
And one from the backside from Matic. Lighting last left alive here and incredibly low, no less.
Oh, he's going to go through the knife throw.
Yeah. Ooh, hit.
Oh, nearly. Not quite going to kebab him just this time around. Effect still popping a couple of shots at long range, grabbing more loot on board. Goes for the fisticuffs there for Nomi. First blood is drawn.
I mean, for Team Spirit, perfect start for them. I mean, it's an odd one for RSG to drop even a round farm in the first place. They know it is Team Spirit's drop spot. This is where they thrive. And I don't think they've had really much opportunity to fight in this area, so they were somewhat excited for it.
Yeah, able to rack up. Well, there's 2 players still down for RSG, so whilst 1 elimination is on the tally, it's likely to be 3 for Team Spirit to kick things off. Good news. The plane path being so far east, I mean, it does isolate those vehicle drops, and I think RSG, sure, they didn't want to stay around here, but they were just trying to grab vehicles. The roll up towards Nomi, I don't know if they knew he was there. Let's take a look at some of these knocks that came through earlier. I mean, yeah, there's Matic, who just protected his teammates so well from that off angle, able to get the spray down in the open. But RSG, they definitely didn't want to be sticking around too long. It was just unfortunate that they ran into the roadblock.
Yeah, you can tell they're trying to leave. And I mean, they were looking just to pick up an easy elim over towards Nomi. And I think that when you look at that fight, yes, technically is sort of in their favor. But the fact that Nomi had 2 weapons already so early in the game, he was a bit of a force to be reckoned with, particularly because he is just a strong player. It is, unfortunately, that idea of how good he is at the game that does make him make some of those somewhat, I don't want to say questionable, but somewhat greedy plays. I think he knows better than anyone that I can hit that shot.
Maestro, the coach, coming into this global tournament, were you guys expecting to be so successful so quickly? Because you guys have been absolutely tearing it up the first 2 days.
이틀 동안 아주 좋은 모습이 보여주셨는데 이렇게 빨리 성공할 거라고 예상하셨습니까?
제가 생각했을 때는 성공하지 않았다고 생각을 하고요. 아직 많이 부족하기 때문에 목표를 위해서 더욱 열심히 노력하고 성장하려고 하고 있습니다.
I don't think we have already succeeded. think we still have a lot of shortcomings and a lot of things we need to grow up, but we do work harder and we'll work harder to make sure we can achieve our goal.
Well, that's definitely what you want to hear for a team that's currently tied, at least starting off day 3, tied for that first place with Major Pride. When we get to the end of this week, when we get to that day 4, where do you expect your team to be?
우리 팀 지금 2등이 있는데 4일 다 끝났을 때 몇 등이라고 생각합니까?
저희가 실수하지 않는 한 1등이라고 생각하고 있습니다.
If we don't make any mistakes, I think we will be the number 1.
Oh, you guys better watch out because MSJ wants to be first place of Group Yellow. 감사합니다. Back to you guys.
Thank you very much, Seven, for a little catch-up there from the start of the day from MSJ. And you heard it from him, right? If you don't make any mistakes, you get all points. I mean, it's as simple as that, right? If you just don't die for longer than everybody else, you win.
With MSJ, though, that is their MO, though. It's just very clean gameplay. And I think that was something that was holding them back a little bit towards the beginning of this tournament, was the fact that they were trying to play such a clean game that other teams could abuse that fact. I mean, I remember we saw when they went down to just 2 players, they were insistent on making what is the quote-unquote right play versus vampires in the fields, which is, we're in a 2v1, I should res my player and get us into a scenario where we can trade off one another. But vampires, again, in that moment, this is a good call where he's like, I'm not going to res. Instead, I'm going to push over towards where I know that res is going to be going through and take the fight there, which is something that comes with experience. So for MIRAEN SEJONG, that has changed over the last couple of days. They're making some more aggressive plays, and that is a lot marshaled by Hoxie. And it's good to see, because you do have the rest of that team, which in general keeps one another in check, but it's good that Hoxie is there to unleash that beast when it's required.
Kitsune down. There's no way he gets back up here. Muerte too close by, and he was caught out by Muerte on that south side rotate, coming back over from Novo. And Team Spirit down to 3.
Not ideal,
no.
But certainly doable. Still doable. I mean, they're inside the circle. They're in not a horrible position to be in. I think when you look at this map, though, it's hard, though, right? I think that for Team Spirit, they're a great team at looking at those rotations, realizing where teams are coming from and how to make those rotates off the back of it. Kitsune is generally a great scouter for the squad, at least recently. And I think that for that play in particular, it's a question of how quickly did Muerte get across that road? When do they send through? And on this circle, we just haven't seen too much of the eastern side of the map, so it's hard to pinpoint exactly what Muerte does in this situation. And realistically, this is a late crossing for Muerte. Usually they're across much quicker, and I think that Kitsune was buying into that fact.
Yeah, you may be reading a bit too much into what should be happening rather than what is perceived in front of him, though. I mean, it's a really difficult call to make, and it's unfortunate. Team Spirit is still in a fairly decent spot. They've still got 3 of their players alive, and they're kind of used to this, right? From back in the EMEA, we kind of harshed on Kitsune a lot for going down early in these games. So this is a scenario that they're not disfamiliar with. Is that a word? I don't know. We'll go with it.
Unfamiliar.
That's absolutely the right word.
Yeah. But I will say this is something we're seeing a lot from our teams during this lobby, and it's something that we've desperately wanted to see from Team Spirit for a long, long time, which is going for more of these gamble situations where you know that compound could be free. It's not 100%, but you'll try it out anyway. And Kitsune is the one making those calls. In the past, he used to be a little bit more passive, but I'm glad that he's kind of taken that back seat to it, in the sense of, I am a good backstop and I am a good scout and I'm a good IGL. I can help the team get to where we need to go. But if anyone's to go down early, it should be me, because Matic, Effect, and Nomi, they are the backbone of that squad, whereas Kitsune is the brains, right? He can go down and it's fine as long as the other lads can continue onwards, and he's provided good intel back there. And this is what we're seeing from plenty of other squads. Alpha 7, MIRAEN SEJONG even go for something very similar, although a little bit more quiet, and generally their rotations are very clean. Like I said, that is a team that has been doing a lot of homework in the background, and it's evident during this PMGC groups.
Loops moving up towards the hill south of Shelter. 2 Doing so fairly successfully. Team Spirit taking residence to the west of Prison on the Harry Potter Tower. We're going to try and keep that under control. Vampire now moving into the compound on the southeast side of the hill towards Milter Power. At the top, near the lumberyard. Twisted Minds trying to hold them out right now. And Stoned, Newsy taken low. Tony K taken very, very low there. First aid going off, and they will need to get that health bar back up. Not really an opening found in response. Doran is low. Lord is away. Sorry, not Lord. You've got... I'm not too sure how that is. I think it's Coops who is off in the back. So potentially not able to go for the backup. A nice nade over towards Robs, who gets too bold on the rooftop for my liking. And the nades find him, get immediately flushed away as well. And now I think Coops needs to regroup onto this to stop Vampire from just launching themselves in. Or perhaps, yeah, maybe just move Lord away, move Doran back. Because you're losing players, you're just hemorrhaging away from this fight.
Yeah, it's tough. It's very tough. I mean, Twisted Minds are doing their best right now to hold on. With Vampires up so close and personal and fairly healthy, all things considered, other than Schweppes, this is a tough fight to be in. They don't have control of too many angles, and they're forced to use a lot of this smoke to keep themselves at bay. But Doran being caught off guard, being that front line, that's really awkward. And now for Twisted Minds, they realize, you know, you got to give up the ghost here. Losing Lumberyard this early on, though, is tough.
Yeah, they're down to 2 players now, and Vampire pretty convincingly take care of that one. Circle centers up a little bit further north over towards Prison and that mansion split area. So we'll see who's going to be able to take control of compounds up this way. Lumberyard in general is not going to be as valuable given this circle pop.
No, but it definitely has value in terms of like understanding where those rotates are coming through, though. And as a scouting position, it's fantastic. And I think at Twisted Minds, they'd like to have stayed up there a bit longer before they potentially made a push over towards that eastern side. I think if I was Vampires, I'm waiting for stage 3 before considering making that eastern push, but Muerte's already on the roll. Nomi catches off Lord on the rotate, will pick himself up another elim here. This is what Team Spirit's always very good at, and something you won't see all that often is a game where Team Spirit goes down with 1 or 2 elims. But yeah, a heavy northern shift on the circle, and this is where, yeah, for Vampires as well as to Muerte, wrap over towards that eastern side. It's a perfect opportunity to get in towards the northern edge of the circle here.
Looking at MIRAEN SEJONG right now, right? They're in that incredibly powerful Heaven compound that sits above this mansion split. I'd be interested to see when Seiwu regroups, or if they regroup actually down towards him, back over towards mansion, and the compounds that sit in the southeast. If they hold this 2-2 split, I mean, this is kind of crazy from MSJ. I feel like this is a very, very big split, and they're going to get noisy neighbors fairly soon as the Muerte able to find the remnants of Twisted Minds.
It's hella greedy, but there is a situation where when you play Mansion, you can comfortably play either sides of it. So they give up the western side and allow teams to come in. They're just going to play that eastern edge. And they're playing for stage 4 right now. It's not... I think a lot of teams don't think it's ideal crashing onto Heaven unless it's absolutely necessary, in which case that rotation is going to come back through from MIRAEN SEJONG. I think the difficulty for that team right now is for Seiwu as well as I think it's Jaesuk down towards Mansion, is keeping the vehicles alive. It depends where they've actually placed them, because they will desperately need them if they need to regroup back over towards Final and Hoxie. But yeah, they are split now.
And they're sort of entrenched in that split, right? By Major Pride, by Team Spirit. Where everybody else, DRX on their north side as well, so... potential difficulties for them because of that. Vampire, they continue to just slowly march up from the southeast side, and I like it, right? This is something that Vampire, we heard from the interview with Satani earlier. It's something that they are not unhappy to do, right? They're not they don't just want to play like the lobby, they want to play like Vampire, and that is how you carve out an identity, a legacy here in PUBG Mobile. So I'll see if they can have a legacy in this game too, because there were 2 eliminations, they took down Twisted Minds, and they don't really have too much to worry about for the time being a little bit close to the edge, though.
Yeah, they're one of the few teams in PMGC that has capability on every single player to be what I would call a clutch member of the team. I think that's a big difference maker, and it does change your playstyle, right? Because for teams like, sorry to come back to MIRAEN SEJONG, they don't have incredible firepower, but they have this really good tactical mindset. But that doesn't open opportunities for them to be an edge sweep team. They have to much more rely on that macro. Whereas for Vampire, they have another option available to them, which is we might not always be in the strongest location on the map, but we're happy to fight teams and create scenarios where we can pressure other squads out and open space around the map where we need it. And I think that's definitely interesting. So the circle does shift off over towards Mansion at this point in time. Final and Hoxie would like to relocate. But if I was SEJONG and JSUK, I'd be like, there's a lot of teams here. It's probably best that we come back up over towards Heaven because it's going to get very hot in Mansion soon. And we'd rather play on the edge here. I don't think it's wise for Hoxie and Final to regroup with JSUK and SEJONG.
It might be a threat, though, from whatever the conclusion of this fight is here between DXavier and HORAA that could dictate how powerful that position is in the Heaven compound. DRX could also look to move up there. Major Pride holding off their corner of the central compounds. They are closest to the middle of this circle right now. RSJ thought that they could take it from them, but Major Pride looking to dominate that southwest edge.
DXavier popping some tags over towards the players on the hillside. They have to move, though. They know this better than anyone. They're outside the circle right now. We'll have to move in. Not a huge amount of areas to play, though. Yeah, again, the reason why MIRAEN SEJONG's been able to happily play in Heaven for so long is because it is, as a lot of people will consider, a god compound. It's very hard to breach just because it's up on high, and a lot of those angles can be covered off by the rooftop positions that are on those compounds in Heaven. So yeah, this is the decision that I thought would come through. So MIRAEN SEJONG are regrouping with the rest of MSJ. Smart. I'm really happy to see it. That's exactly what I wanted from this team.
Western side, that macro praised by Blank. It's a difficult accolade to get. DXavier runs headlong into Major Pride, who are now farming this lobby, despite only having one elimination, though, and racking up 2 there. Who's been taking all these elims? Where are they going? Who's finding them? Is that MSJ? They've just been stealing the elims from Major Pride.
Yeah, I mean, fair enough. They've got the high ground. They can do it. So,
who's going to stop?
Easy peasy. The fact they're on 6 elims is kind of nice. That's a very good name from Vitten. It's a long one, too. And that cuts off their off angle. So for Vampire, things start to get a little bit weird. Nino, in fact, even hitting a DPS. I think Vampire's just out here. After all I said about them as well.
Yeah.
Damn, I think that all does come off the back of that insane grenade over towards Tony K, though.
Yeah, they are just swept aside. I feel like the suppressed auto shot here is one of my favorite gunshot sounds in this game. It's so clean. It's so clean. It's clinical. You know, just looks good.
SEJONG scouting out over towards that western side as well. Does spot INCO as they try to get in on this fight. There is a couple of players up into the building, but Jason's doing a fantastic job to hold them. This is what I'm talking about. It's so hard to aggress over towards Heaven. I'm glad they regrouped on it as well. It gives them so much presence over the map. 10 elims at the moment. Fantastic stuff. They even made the play to INCO, which was to use that momentum as you head up the hill to kind of jump onto one of the high grounds. It was a decent ploy, a good try, but not versus the hands of MIRAEN SEJONG, who is quickly becoming one of my favorite teams in PMGC.
It seems like they're the table's favorite teams as well. They are jumping up. They're on 120 points now with the 10 eliminations they found. They fought BTR in Heaven. Maxman pointed this out in our group chat. They took BTR on in Heaven and absolutely destroyed them, which is how they got their first set of elims. That split that they maintained. Now they've come back. They pulled a bunch of the elims away from Major Pride, who are second place, remember, contenders for that top spot. And now they rack it up with an INCO wipe, and it's a really solid situation for them. The circle pops. It keeps the top side of Heaven compound in, which means that they can stay there for a little bit longer. It keeps that second lower tier of it down, which means that there's going to be less threat from teams approaching on that angle to try and sweep them through. So a really good spot for MSJ continues to be the case.
They're still in, which is good. And again, that angle, that high ground is going to have so much benefit to them towards the late game. I don't think Loops has done badly at all, by the way. And Alpha 7's still in the match, as our Team Spirit. I mean, Team Spirit's been able to get 5 elims, which is nice considering the amount of players that they're currently on. It hasn't been the easiest game for them. I think DRX might have something to say about that, though, from that northern side. Though, saying that, MIRAEN SEJONG should have an off angle on this.
The approach from DRX, I mean, it's just covered. You can see the trees just giving them a little bit of cover there for DRX to slowly make their way through, but still, it is dangerous. It's not hard cover. It's not quite good enough. And as soon as they get into the compounds, then teams like Muerte, like Major Pride, Team Spirit are going to start to pay attention to them as well, even though Team Spirit are only on 2. So DRX from the north, a difficult approach to make. Loops, 5 eliminations so far. They're looking for more over towards ZEUS, who are still in this one on the southeast side. 4 players alive. Going to have to move a little bit further forwards. With Loops losing Rafinha on a knock, they're going to have to regroup and move forwards into the circle.
Yeah, ZEUS over towards that east. Now, ZEUS has been a standout over the last couple of days. Racked up a whole bunch of points. They do lose Rita, though, to HARAME, bro. Unfortunately, the team tries to make a crazy push up. Range finds another on the roll up and will decimate them. Shreds them as 2, but this should be an opportunity for ZEUS. Absolutely.
Maniac moves forwards, hits the deck behind the vehicle. Molotov's ammo depleted by that roll-up control from HARAME, bro. But Maniac down to a nade. The res comes through on the backline for ZEUS to keep them as 4, but Maniac burns down and goes to 3. Range is still alive, hasn't healed yet. Instead, looking more for that suppressive force, that gunfire down towards ZEUS, who lose Darkin as well, clipped away. And HARAME, bro, are taking on 2 full 4 rosters on the south as 2 and coming out looking great.
I think this would be a very different story if teams knew they were just 2 players. Again, for ZEUS here, it is a lukewarm play, in my opinion. As HORAA finds Eren. Sky found the shots from the side. Again, if they knew there was just 2 players inside this compound, if they had more time to scout it, that did just give you the good cover to kind of mask how many players that are in that location. For ZEUS, that would have just been a simple, let's just all crash in and see what we can get done off the back of it. Loops had the right idea. It was just some very good plays coming through from bro HARAME to stop that from happening.
Circle coming on through. It goes northeast. Major Pride in a priority position here. They have the corner of the compound. They can force all the teams on the inside to fight. Alpha 7 may be able to sneak something here as well. Given that they're on the outside, they could maybe establish. It's going to move away from that MSJ high ground. Finally, Blank, which is going to force them down and out into the fight.
Yeah, they certainly will have to move forward. I think for them, though, they're most concerned about HORAA off in the distance. They roughly know where they are. The smokes have been laid down. So getting rid of them, it would be brilliant. ZEUS goes down with 0 points. I mean, it is just a pretty painful play that they make over towards HARAME, but I think they get so spooked in that moment. HORAA's being cruel here, really biding their time.
You know, south side is Federalis and Range for HARAME, bro. They are one of the most ultimate duos since Eddie Brock and Venom, which you guys can go and see at the cinema right now. The Last Dance is available in all good theaters, so make sure you're checking that one out for the symbiosis that we're seeing here in the PUBG Mobile Group Yellow.
HORAA lose a player. So 2 elims. I think a lot of people had high hopes for HORAA. It's not come to pass though in these games, as MIRAEN SEJONG just send out, and this is exactly what they've got to do, is just fly on over. They know that this team has already taken a knock. They know they're weakened. There's a fight they've got to take. They bait out the nades as well. Fantastic plays.
Oh, big.
That's a very well placed nade.
That does so much damage. Unfortunately, it didn't get a knock there, but it's going to slow things down so much as the nades continue to bobble on forwards. That one just continues to find the mark. HORAA taken very, very low. Mr. Boro goes almost down. That one's going to find Malik for sure. No, okay. The spray downs instead. Hoxie finds another knock. This guy is on a tear, and the nades do the job. HORAA down, and now MSJ can navigate the open fields on the outside of this compound. 13 elimination game blank so far for them. MIRAEN SEJONG, they are not going to make a mistake up to this point. Can they keep that track record clean?
With 13 eliminations and 7 teams still remaining at 22 squads, it is a really strong game so far. Definitely being a bit of a point sponge here. Team Spirit is more desperately how many nades do they have remaining and how many more can they scrounge from this building, because DRX are in the greatest of spots. Really not a lot of bullets remaining here for effect. With 2 players, it's hard to get a full squad wipe inside a building like this. what they have to do now is wait for the next circle and cause some big problems for them as they leave and hope another team chimes in. Hard fight to win 2v4.
DRX on the southeast corner. Sorry, on the northwest corner. Muerte on the southeast corner. And this is what I was saying earlier. With Alpha 7 being on the outside, I feel like they potentially have one of the better shots. And move this one down south. That puts Alpha 7 into a little bit of a better position. There's a lot of open ground in front of them. And MIRAEN and SEJONG currently have Hoxie in the circle as well. So I feel like these two teams and Major Pride have the best shots into this game.
It's a very good lineup coming through from MIRAEN and SEJONG. An aggressive one at that. They know that they've got a little bit of cover, some of these trees, some of the rocks to play around with. Muerte sending nades over towards Alpha 7. Major Pride get involved with that as well, as they know that Muerte needs to leave eventually.
Knock from DRX, though, over towards Major Pride, takes Evo Station down, and it's going to be up to AZ to get the res. So only one sightline. Muerte may be able to capitalize off of this. There was a lot of damage sent through the smoke, but their sightlines are severely reduced now, and Alpha 7 under a little bit more pressure. The smoke train doesn't have too much longer before it's going to clear and open them up to a broadside, but Muerte trying to navigate this one, but they haven't found an opening towards Alpha 7. Instead, they're just getting teared apart, teared to pieces as the smokes drop, and it's all going to be Major Pride racking up those points. Look at the devastation that lays before Muerte.
It's MIRAEN and SEJONG stealing them, actually.
Wait,
on the
what?
other side of the map. Yeah, they were able to pick up 2 of those.
Oh, that's naughty.
15 elims. If Major Pride only been able to take 3 off the back of that. Team Spirit crawling their way in. Smokes are unleashed. There is a lot of action going on, so there's potential for Team Spirit here. But for them, this is now less about getting a high placing, but more about the elims. Realistic. Hyunbin's so close in that smoke, and in fact knows it after he gets that tag.
Major Pride getting a knock over towards DRX. Another one, Team Spirit still fighting on the inside of the compound. Close quarters. They don't need to make macro rotations. They don't need to scout. And this is where they can frag. Effect and Nomi take care of it. Now they can turn their attention towards Major Pride, but they have to cross open ground with MIRAEN and SEJONG taking a peek over towards them. Effect into the smoke behind the tree. Has to tuck his ankles away. Get that first aid going. Nomi as well under threat as AZ lays a nade in, but there's traded off by Nomi. Will be blasted away for a flush, but it's just Elementrix to stand. Effect trying to cross the open ground, does take some damage, but not quite gonna make the full Monty there for Elementrix. Not gonna be able to get that knock. Instead, gets spotted, and from across the way, it's Alpha 7 to take them down. MIRAEN and SEJONG are still going. They've got 16 eliminations. Team Spirit with a solo, but it's Alpha 7 to be their major threat now on the outside.
Alpha 7 still has 4 as well, and I mean, MIRAEN and SEJONG is being kind of peppered by quite a few teams. Team Spirit, Effect's going to look to pick up some more util, some more smokes from these death crates, and go from there. Again, for Team Spirit, it has not been a bad game. Very, very good salvage game. We know that they're decent at that as MIRAEN and SEJONG looks to move up, but Alpha 7 have themselves a tear, and it's HARAME Bro who have lived out this game. They have not been in the most awesome of positions either, yet still able to get a lot of work done. 5 elims and guaranteed top 4.
A really nice result from them on the south side. Another knock over towards MIRAEN and SEJONG. Federalis, okay. He's found the first. He's looking for a second. Alpha 7 keeping them tucked in as well means that these reses can't really come through. The headland that he's got keeps him safe from the Brazilians right now. Could go a little bit further here. Effect is still inshore on the north side, but he's going to have to cross open ground. Not much you can do. MIRAEN and SEJONG will not go down without a fight. They've got that first res on board as well. Effect crawling his way forward through the smokes. MIRAEN and SEJONG being preoccupied with these reses is allowing him to do it, but Alpha 7 too quick. Eliminated on 8 elims though in 4th place for Team Spirit. HARAME Bro ladder up once more. MIRAEN and SEJONG, have they met their match finally?
Great shots from Carrillo as well as Magrelin there. And they will get a confirmed res on this one. MIRAEN and SEJONG go down to just 2 players. It would be a shame if they go out in 3rd place with HARAME Bro with Federales with an innings here. Blue's going to push him though. He's right on the edge of it. Down to stage 9. This will push absolutely everyone in. MIRAEN and SEJONG want to bide this position. They know that technically they have a little bit more cover to work with than Alpha 7.
Oh. No. Oh, this is nasty. The smoke's there. Mafioso can't quite thread the needle this time around. The healing does come out, but they are going to have to take up with those stims. Federalis is spotted. That is going to be taken by Alpha 7, and now it's a 3 versus 4. 2 players lined up behind the tree. Breakout wide for Mafioso. 2 players in the same position for Alpha 7 as Revo peeks the other side of the rock to Carrillo. This is dangerous from Seiwu. Has got 3 first aids. Going to need to use one of them now. The vehicle smokes in front of him and gives him a little bit of cover. But there's Hoxie found and 2 players behind the same tree. This should be an easy pickup for Alpha 7. Jae-suk the last to go. MSJ stole so much from this lobby, but they do not have the gumption to steal this chicken dinner as well. It's Alpha 7 on 4 players alive, surviving on the southeast side.
I mean, although they don't get the chicken dinner, it's probably the best PUBG Mobile game we've witnessed throughout the tournament so far. They weren't able to get the circle on towards their side, and they were consistently playing in from that west. Alpha 7 just have such good control of those situations, and they played a fantastic game as well, to say the least. That can't be taken away from them. A lot of strong games. Team Spirit, Harame, bro, MIRAEN SEJONG were some of the best rotates I've ever seen. But, you know, who can analyze this a little bit better than me? It's the boys on the desk.
Well, if we try extra hard, we might be able to, Blink. We'll find out here as we're going to kick things off, talking about this match. And Alpha 7, like you guys mentioned, taking the chicken dinner. But honestly, Max and Hot Jukes, the story of the match wasn't Alpha 7. It was still going to be MIRAEN SEJONG.
MIRAEN SEJONG.
I mean,
whoa. Go for it, Jukes. I'm going to go for A. Just go for it, please.
No, yeah. I mean, seriously, just what a game from this squad. I mean, you and I were going nuts when we just saw that push on the BTR in heaven, right? Once they won that fight, I mean, they just straight dominated. INCO flew in trying to make, usurp them, and they got shut down immediately. Just honestly, I think Blank nailed it when he said it's probably some of the best PUBG Mobile we've seen.
It's my favorite
so far in this tournament.
My favorite game by far. This match has been absolutely incredible. And before we go like really in depth in how the teams play and stuff, because there's a lot to really break down, let's not forget MIRAEN SEJONG and Alpha 7, they dropped west. This was a very eastern circle that was happening for these teams, right? If anyone says, oh, we didn't get circle lock, I'm going to say, look at this game. These teams are incredible when it comes down to just rotations and map knowledge as a whole. Like MIRAEN SEJONG were able to live so long in the field where it's just flat terrain, but if you know the terrain well enough, you've got some little slopes and rocks you can use to your advantage and stand out. But Alpha 7 here, clearing out all of Mansion in particular, Jason, getting so many eliminations in the process because they were in such a great spot to get 3 elims from those squads.
Yeah, but I think one thing we also have to be careful with Alpha 7 is the fact that they were running a little bit low on ammo count, right? We are kind of discussing this stuff that because they weren't in Mansion, like in the midst of the skirmish, they weren't really able to loot any boxes off of that. So they had to be very careful about like what shots they did take. Maybe that's why we're seeing their limbs be a little bit low or maybe damage a little bit low. But still, in the end, like to kind of realize we have the advantage to close things out against MIRAEN SEJONG. If Federalis wasn't there, I do wonder who would have won that game because he really like was the guy to stop any sort of chance for MSJ to win that match.
What a crazy game in general. This was just absolutely gorgeous gameplay from all these squads. But when it comes to MIRAEN SEJONG, it's so crazy that we're talking about this team and they didn't even win. They didn't even win the game, but just the way that they played it was just so perfectly executed. You couldn't really ask for anything more. And then Alpha 7 put up some good points. I mean, these squads are just doing better than we could have possibly expected in the past 2 days, Max.
You said they didn't win. They won in my heart. Okay?
That's right.
They won in my heart. Right. They were the winners of this game. I mean, eliminations alone. They got the biggest elimination game, by the way, so far. I think it was a 15 elimination game from Major Pride in match 1 in Sanhok. This is the biggest elimination game we've had so far, and it's from the Korean team. It's so good to see Korea finally get this big pop-off moment outside of like T+ back in the first season of PMWI. But here you have some of these finishing moments, and you talked about Federalis here, Jason. His shots through the smoke, by the way, on MSJ was like, how this guy's got like an extra sense. He's Spider-Man in this match because he was incredible in those sprays.
It wasn't even just that too, because if you think back on what we just saw, right? They took down Loops pretty easily, and then ZEUS, I'd say pretty easily. They only have 2 players left alive at the end of that. Then ZEUS, who had a 4-man squad, was right next to him looking for a potential fight. Instead, they looked to rotate clockwise around the map, around the 4 to like 6 o'clock position. And somehow, HARAME, bro, with only 2 players, were still taking out ZEUS members that eventually it was just down to 1 player alone from them. So I was really confused how they were able to get so much done from that position. But to kind of rewind it back before that, one thing we have to talk about is this split, Max, that you were looking at when we had Mirror and SEJONG with 2 people in heaven, 2 people towards mansion. You're getting a little bit nervous. I know you and Huntrix were discussing, like, yeah, you're not a fan of the split right now, and yet somehow they were able to regroup without losing a player when you had major pride and team spirit in the way.
I was getting very nervous. I was getting very stressed there, Jason, because it's a good position to have until you get to phase 4, let's say, because a lot of teams are going to be trying to send it in that field to the strong positions, which here are going to be or heaven or mansion. So they were weakened by that position, but we were lucky, Jukes. They were able to regroup, and because they regrouped, they get 22 points on the board this match, followed up with 19 from Alpha 7. They are the top dogs right now, I'd have to say, MSJ. They are looking so good these games.
Oh yeah, I mean, these guys are gonna rocket launch themselves, you know, even further into first place. I mean, after that one right there, and it was just that rotation as well, man. I mean, it was so beautiful. It was so late. We thought it was like, oh man, the chances of them being able to actually regroup together without losing a player is gonna be so slim, but they did it with ease. You know what I'm saying? They took their time. They got all that just valuable information and made it work. I do think it was that final player though that kind of, I think it was Federalis, that actually made it a little bit more difficult for them towards the end. But still, I mean, 16 eliminations, you got to hold your head up high.
You see BTR at the bottom, like, it should have been me, not him. It's not fair. We took
not doing
it,
right? Not doing it.
No,
not gonna hit the button.
Can't be the button.
In the last 6 games for Mirror and SEJONG, they've had 2 firsts, a second, a fourth, and then they had another second just now. So they have 2 firsts, 2 seconds, a fourth, and then a 12th when it came to that Sandhawk, which honestly, if they were able to take the fight against Vampire a little bit better and come out with 4 players alive, it could have been another first place finish for them. Like, this team is on fire right now. The only thing I hope is when we get into maybe the grand finals, if they do make it there, obviously, that they're not able, or that they are able to replicate this, because it kind of feeds into perfect what we've been saying this whole year of the uncertainty era. PUBG Mobile Esports is here, and right now anyone can win, and that result off that last match alone propelled them into a massive lead now up against the number 2 team of Major Pride.
You would have shown me these leaderboards before, Jukes, the tournament started. I would say photoshopped. Right?
Yeah. Just no way. But you know what? Guess what? The Alpha 7 put themselves in 3rd place now. They are now in that running to be able to rocket launch themselves into the grand finals. But, you know, Team Spirit being knocked down. It's so crazy to see Vampire in 5th with 3 chicken dinners. That's just straight wild to me. But still, I mean, yeah, Marie SEJONG, I mean, 132 points so far, and the way they're playing, they're looking almost unstoppable.
Talking about Vampire, I'm happy you bring them up, actually, Jukes, because when you're looking at their 3 wins, that's, of course, like a great conversion rate in terms of how many games you played and wins. It's fantastic from Vampire, but they have 40 placement points, which means that outside of those 3 wins, they got 10 placement points out of 10? Like 10 plus games they played outside of that. It is quite low. So right now what I'm seeing from Vampire is they're quite hit or miss. And we need to see a bit more consistency in those bad games. I said it many times, right, Jason? That a good team for me is a team that when they have a bad game, they can still bring some eliminations, a few placement points on board, and that keeps them in the conversation consistently. So Vampire, those bad games, I need to see a few more points coming on the board there.
We're not seeing much movement down towards the bottom part of the leaderboard, mostly due to the fact that our top 4 were still alive very, very deep into that game. So they continue to soak up these points and just don't seem to show any sign of stopping. I did kind of want you to go into, though, the mansion position in the last match, because we had 5 teams all in that area, and it seemed like the only thing that was going to cause them to fight or move was going to be that zone. It was DRX, Muerte, Team Spirit, Major Pride, and Alpha 7.
I would say, Jukes, it makes sense we saw so many teams going to Mansion, because when the circle goes north of the shelter area, it is pretty much just flat terrain, fields with very little compounds, buildings. All you have is going to be Heaven then, which is where MSJ ended up playing, and Mansion. And Mansion is actually available for a few teams in the late game because these buildings are kind of separated from each other and are quite big. So it could host a lot of teams, but as we see, when the circle moves away, Jukes, that's when really all hell breaks loose.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that terrain between Heaven and Mansion is just literally wide open field. So when you have to decide between one or the other, I think you definitely want to lean a little bit towards Mansion, because there's so many different places where you can kind of like just hide and just multiple teams can sit there, right? Heaven, not so much. There's like only a couple buildings that are available, and it's so difficult to even want to share that area. So you're going to get into an engagement no matter what. So I'm not surprised to see Mansion just so packed all the way to the end. But yeah, look at that. Masterclass indeed. And it's so crazy to see exactly at this point. I mean, these guys are playing like they're the world champs already.
Yeah.
It's wild. I mean, hopefully they can keep that energy up, though.
Even going down to the Heaven discussion again, you could theoretically host 2 teams in Heaven if you really want to try and like work together as a symbiotic relationship.
Yeah,
you
you
could
have to really try.
But seeing how Miran and Sejong here have been playing, Jukes, they don't want to share that compound because they know, no, we're not just trying to get into top 3. We are trying to win the game. So we're not letting anyone live with us in this area of Heaven. We're going to take you down instantly the moment you get even remotely close of our compound. So yeah, again, yeah, masterclass, absolutely. And I hope it continues.
Yeah.
Well, obviously we're talking so much about MSJ, but we have to give credit to Alpha 7 on the day as well. We talked about yesterday, they had a very, very slow day, not really mounting to much. And then day 1, it was basically just their Miramars, but they've already had a 2nd place finish now with 10 eliminations, and then a chicken dinner we just saw here. So just off these 2 matches alone, they've had a massive upward swing in their leaderboards, and I'm kind of curious if they can maintain this kind of pace over today.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult, but they're going for the win. That's for sure. I mean, and they did it in Sandhawk as well, right? It's so crazy to see just like how these teams are, both these teams are playing right now. Alpha 7 now chilling in 3rd place. They're going to feel a lot more comfortable. I wasn't worried from them at all in day number 1 because every single game that goes by, they just adapt. That's going to be the problem, I think, for when it comes to MSJ, because Alpha 7, we know what they're going to do. What is MSJ going to do, right? Are they going to be able to maintain what they're doing right now? Will they dip? Or will they even, you know, ascend further beyond? What do you think, Max?
Sorry, I'm looking at the numbers here for MSJ. Those average damage stats are insane.
It's
450
ridiculous.
a game? Is that...
It's crazy.
I want to double check that. What? That is ludicrous amount of damage here. He's doing every single match, Jason. I'm sorry, I had to go on MSJ again. Those numbers were kind of impressive.
Max, who's your favorite team at the moment?
Yeah, who's your favorite team?
In all of PUBG Mobile Esports? If I remember correctly, you would say it was Falcons, right?
It's still Falcons, but I kind of like what MSJ are doing. Is all I'm going to say. Give me way more.
Tickling your fancy?
I remember I asked you during the watch parties for CSA, like, what would it take for you to no longer be a Falcons fan? And I think you basically said, like, underperforming at PMGC and not make it to the finals. You might have a new fan here for Max. I'm a new favorite team, and you know what you say. You got to get a tattoo of them.
Did I say? Wait, I don't remember this. Was this the party 2 days ago, Jason? I don't remember that.
You do remember, right, Jukes?
Oh, I remember. I remember. He said, you know what? He said, I'm going to say less, and I'm going to say woo. That's what he said.
I said woo after, yeah.
He said woo.
Like a roller coaster. Well, we still have 2 more Aaron Gills to come up today, and of course, 2 Miramars on top of that. I kind of don't want to talk about them because I feel like we have talked so much, but Twisted Minds have had a really, again, slow day. I mean, they had a 7th place with 4 eliminations, mostly because of Coops single-handedly, I think, picking up those elims. And then here they go out really early, getting 0 points. If we're talking about even not just them, I think, you know, them, RSG, Loops, maybe not to Muerte so much just yet. Big plays have to be made, and the only team that at the moment who is outside of that top 11, HARAME Bro, was the only team to do so just in that last match alone with the elims. They got 9 elims, if I'm not mistaken, on Sandhawk, and they get a ton of elims here too off Federales.
Yeah, I don't know. I think there's definitely some potential there for HARAME Bro. I like the way they rotate. I think when it comes to fights, they're a little bit inconsistent at times. I think they had some good angles, but outside of that, it's been a kind of rough time for HARAME Bro. But Twisted Minds, Jukes, I want us to kind of like all agree to some extent that let's just not focus on Twisted Minds unless we see something good. Yeah, I feel like we sound like a broken
literally
record.
That's what it is, because it's so difficult. I mean, they have so much pressure lying on them. You know, like they want to perform for, you know, their families, their country, you know, their organization. It's just so difficult because, you know, this is the organization that had 2 teams qualify. You know, and it's unfortunate to see, you know, one of their teams didn't make it here, and there's that added pressure because you want to perform better, you know, because of that. And it's unfortunate it ain't happening now. So I think honestly, if you're Twisted Minds, you're kind of just hoping that they make it to that survival stage, you know, like they can make a good few games, get to that survival stage, and then bounce back then, because the chances of getting top 3, especially with seeing how Alpha 7 and MSJ are performing, it's just going to be too difficult to cross at this point, right, Jason?
I would say there's no chance. I mean, they're 100 points out at least right now, and I don't think they're gonna be able to do that. I mean, they have to over triple the amount of points they've gotten with just 2 days of play left to go. But I mean, besides obviously like BIGETRON, I feel like not a bad change up for them. I mean, obviously, like we can obviously say that, yeah, they lost the fight against MIRAEN and SEJONG in heaven, but they lost the fight against the best team in the lobby right now, and they already had a 4th place finish 4 limbs on Sandhawk with the roster swaps we had happen. I feel like we're starting to see an uptick out of BIGETRON. Just unfortunate that they couldn't hold out against MSJ.
I don't think they were ready for that fight. I don't think anyone would be ready for that fight realistically. But yeah, I still want to see a few more matches with this current roster to see if I'm sold or not on the current player changes. So BTR just need a bit more time to see how that's going to potentially go down. Though I want to bring up another team here, and I would like to know also what you maybe think, Jukes, about them. Is Xavier have been eerily silent. And they're one of the big name teams in this group. And sure, they got some decent finishes yesterday, but a few of them were because Parajin was remaining as a solo, or another player was remaining as a solo. We haven't seen these strong team finishes from DX outside, really, of the last 2 almost matches of day 1, with especially that chicken dinner over on Miramar. So Xavier need to get back on the board because they are slipping away slowly but surely from that top 3 position.
Arajin, yeah, when it comes to Xavier, honestly, I want to see something out of him this game, right here, right now. And I think it's something that we're definitely gonna see. You know, the first 2 matches of the day, you can always just kind of, you never know what's gonna happen. You got Sandhawk starting off, you got your first Aaron Gale. You know, now you should be fully warmed up right now. There's no excuses. You got to be able to execute here and now, and especially it's going to make things more difficult when you see these top teams performing so well. I mean, the first game we saw a sign of life because, you know, all the top squads went out so early, but then game 2 comes around and you see a 16 elimination chicken dinner. It's that puts you back on your heels a little bit.
I feel like Xavier have always kind of been this really hit or miss team. Thinking back to last year, thinking back to PMGC where they were definitely on point, and then thinking back to the event we did Max in Saudi Arabia after, they weren't even the same team, it felt like. Obviously swapping around Chua out of the roster too. Yeah, consistency is definitely something that's been lacking within this team, even though in PMSL SEA finals they did exceptionally well. So I'm not sure necessarily what it is for them, but also I turn my eyes towards maybe our only representative from Turkey here, ZEUS, who great rotation on Sandhawk. I feel like they've shown they have a lot of potential. But slight consistency, maybe missing, maybe confidence. I'm not sure what it is necessarily, Max, but we've seen really good things out of this team. I mean, this is like their first time at PMGC, right? There's a lot of pressure on them to try to perform.
It's interesting we're talking about them because I would compare, maybe this is a completely bad comparison, but looking back at how the games have been played for ZEUS, I would compare them to a HARAME Bro, but it's more successful on their rotations and fighting in particular. I think this is a team that is learning so much on a day-to-day basis, Hot Jukes, right? Because when you have a team that has never played global before, they learn so much in the first day or 2. They know how to adapt to the tournament. So ZEUS here, they are building momentum and they could get even higher on this match.
Well, the momentum meter's about to break here as we head into our second Aaron Go of the day, our 3rd match overall, as we'll send it back over to Blink and John Allen.
MIRAEN SEJONG on the limit break game from that last time around. Let's see if they can go for the repeat from Lipovka over towards Gatka. We're sending over Erangel for a 2nd time today.
Indeed we are. Heading back over on this map. Beautiful stuff. Nice horizontal playing path, which means a remake's on the way. Obviously, right?
Must be.
Surely.
Yeah.
Surely.
It's 1 a day at least, minimum. It's a quota.
Can't be having a horizontal playing path. I'm just goofing you guys at home, by the way. Just doing a little goof there.
It's a blank prank.
It's a blank prank. Don't worry about it. Though. We are actually playing this game now. I'm worried I've cursed it. I don't think I have. But yeah, this is a nice playing path for a lot of teams. It's probably, I think the horizontal playing paths are one of the best for any squad inside this lobby, especially this one that cuts pretty much through the dead center of the map. No one's going to be dropping on one another's vehicles. I think the only difference here is that potentially there might be more teams dropping out on the eastern side and trying to pick up vehicles early, which might cause some conflict. But I highly doubt it. As we're heading into day 3 here, it is important to be making sure that you don't give up too many points early on, because you have a long way to go for some of these teams.
Be interested to see if INCO are going to hot drop. Looks like no. BTR have disengaged from that. 2 teams that we talk about stubbornness, and this is what I wanted to see, Blank. It's a military circle. Look at that south shift on. Teams are going to need to move fast now. I'm expecting Twisted Minds to break down fast. Team Spirit, they have options, but generally what we've seen from them in EMEA is going for a fast drop, quick loot, send off the side of the cliffs and try and get for that swim early across to Sosnovka military base. Take a boat with them if they can.
Yeah, I think for a lot of our teams, it is going to be quick rotate all day long. This is very much confirmed Sosnovka military base. There is not really much doubt in my mind that this is not going there. It's also surprising that we don't have any teams in Sosnovka, considering the plane path was far up towards that north side. Haha, look at me going back on my words. This is the nicest plane path it could have been. It's not too bad. It's towards the center. JK! You get this crazy circle down towards that south side. For Two Spirit, we know what they do with this one. They like to head over towards Shark's Head and then just send over the water and just swim it in towards some of those northern compounds. For RSG, looks like they're going to go for a quick rotate over towards that western side. Muerte, on the other hand, I'm so sorry, Muerte fans. These guys love Nova at Moya. This game, they went Severny.
This is unfortunate for Muerte, but you know, that's just how the cookie crumbles. They're going to have to come in. Maybe going through late to Military Island is always very, very difficult. Could potentially see Botates coming through. A lot of the Military Island is in this circle. Sometimes you get military circles where the south coast is cut out, which means those Botations are a little bit less possible. But maybe that's on the cards for them late. Alpha 7, ZEUS also right up on that northern side. Alpha 7 in North George spread out with almost Tazaki with Carrillo and Stalba, Kameshki split for ZEUS as well on the northeast side. So long rotates for them. Major Pride not wasting any time, but unfortunately, DXavier and RSG have both already made this rotate.
Yeah, I think that if we were playing in more of a tournament format, teams might gamble on trying to take a hold around this area and go for some big Elim points, but that can lead to quite early deaths, right? So I think a lot of teams are more looking just to send directly in towards the circle. On the other hand, the guys in the desk were talking about Twisted Minds. It is unfortunate.
Yeah.
If you're a Twisted Minds fan, fair enough. I will say one thing is I think that the recruitment team over at Twisted Minds did a great job. I don't think any of these players are bad. I think they need more time. So if I was to be able to speak directly to the Twisted Minds team, it would be a case I would keep these guys around. I wouldn't ditch this team just yet. I still think it has a lot of potential. It just needs more time in the kitchen.
And they took that time right back in EMEA. They really did find their feet, and it was very impressive what they were able to achieve. But it feels like they've gone a little bit stale here into PMGC. They need to, as you say, spend that little bit more time in the kitchen and get back on. This is interesting, actually. This is the first time we've really seen it. The hovercraft could potentially be a big change here. You can obviously transition from water to land with it, which means that if HARAME Bro make landfall, they can immediately be quickly rotating onto those land-based positions rather than having to clamber up some cliffs, go on foot, try and scramble whatever they can together. There's a little bit of a crash coming through from DRX. I don't think DXavier have the firepower to hold it, but maybe I'm wrong because Kaikse is already down. That is traded off though, and immediately going to be flushed away. Finding more as well. They're looking for the back lines. Lamborghini able to trade it off, and 2 knocks sent back to DRX, so not all lost for DXavier. They've still got 3 players, but a little cut around the side of the wall there. Finds Paragin. Now it's all up to Levi's on his little shack there. The ticket booth on the outskirts as QXZ going to move on forwards. Trade it off. 2 knocks, 3 knocks to DRX, but it's not going to be enough to take him down as DXavier will fall.
Yeah, and they get the full reset on this as well, which is the best thing about it. It looked pretty dicey. So we currently have 2 Korean teams up towards that top 6, which is very nice to see here in PMGC. But curious, very curious that they both went for this exact same position on the map. And I mean, it's fair enough. You both want to head down towards that southwest side of the map, get yourself out of the way. You know teams are going to be trying to relocate over towards those northwest compounds. So you want to be one of the last places that gets crashed. But yeah, painful.
We've got a recap from 7 as to today's
Welcome to a quick report with the 7WG as Alpha 7 was just able to get their first win of day 3. I got a chance to talk to Revo at the beginning of the day, and he was telling me that they were coming in with too much confidence because everybody was just expecting them to be in the top 3. They thought it was going to be easy. It was not. Today, they're going back to their usual playing style. Is Alpha 7 back? You guys let me know.
Absolutely. It's good to see Alpha 7 in that top 3 spot. 111 points just ahead of Team Spirit at the end of that game. But this is a difficult map for them, right? Team Spirit are already across. Alpha 7 not so lucky with that northwest position. May struggle to get on in. But as it stands, that western bridge is not looking too terrible. And here again, that hovercraft, if they had to make landfall with a boat there, they're on foot, they're not going so fast, and they might struggle. Same story for Vampires. This is actually one of the main situations where the hovercraft is going to have an impact, Blank, these military island circles, and we're seeing it here.
The hovercraft, it's nice to see, actually. The thing is tanky, and it's very nice to have. I mean, even HARAME Bro picked themselves up 1-2. It's super defensible, which will change the game. It's one of the more meta-changing vehicles in the game, honestly, just in terms of those rotations you make. I think the biggest weakness with the boats in the past is that if you got spotted on a rotate inside one of those boats, it was so quick. As long as you had the team fire set up, hello. As long as you had the team fire set up, you could immediately destroy that boat.
Yeah, but with this, with the addition of the hovercraft, it's a little bit harder to go for that. HARAME Bro, they roll up into the spot. DRX King, roll-ups, what on earth? Just completely whiffs the spray Federalis from the last game. Where did he go? ZEUS hops out and just clocks him. You can't let that happen, Federalis. What happened there?
Yeah, that was painful. Painful to say the least. But yeah, well played. A little bit of a quick angle reposition for them. The hovercraft is now finished. So it's not quite as... it's not massively tanky to the point where you can't just take it down immediately like a BDS. But it's very much still great for just sending directly into that circle. Eastern Shift on this one does move over towards that side where Twisted Minds is currently playing. Team Spirit have some reasonable rotations, but Loops have a strong spot down towards this middle of the circle. To see a good game from Major Pride because it's been a while and they have just been hovering with those residual points they've been able to achieve over the first couple of days, and then a couple of Elim points here and there.
We've got wacky races down to the South Island. We've already had the hovercrafts. Now we're going into the skies with Alpha 7, taking an aerial approach to this one. And with the circle shifting out east, they might find a runway on the west side of it now to be able to get down and into it on foot.
I mean, for Alpha 7, it's certainly possible. There is plenty of areas where you can play on the southern edge. I think we have seen Alpha 7 multiple times in the past play towards some of these locations. The best thing about the glider, though, is the fact that unlike the boat where you can only rock up towards the base of some of these cliff faces, as we all know, gliders have a bit of flight to them, so you can get up towards the high ground. There is a specific compound down towards the southeast. You wonder just how much fuel they brought with them, but they were setting this up for a while. Unfortunately, the rest of the squad is just in a boat here, so it will be those two players looking to make landfall out in the distance, potentially scout out position. These two players to grab a vehicle, then recruit with them later.
This has only been allowed because the circle shifted out to the east, right? There would be teams littered around this area if it hadn't gone that way. So Alpha 7 allowed in there, and they read that circle very nicely. BTR with a very late swim, but it's got to work out. There's no contest on the northern shore. Not that they have figured that out yet, but I'm sure that they will do in short order. Again, 4 teams actually still on the north side, still on that main island. ZEUS holding the north side of the east bridge, so I'm not really counting them. We've got MSJ still in South George, by the way. We've got INCO in Pachinki, and you've got HORAA, who are just about coming to the south side near Farm, to Muerte on the east side near Prison. So a couple of crosses still yet to happen.
Yeah, and it's just because of that first playing path, right? I think it, if I'm honest, I think it lulled a lot of the players into this false sense of security where they're like, oh, lovely playing path, you know, chilled out game. Psych down towards Sosnovka. So we have a lot of teams still to make their way through. But there is a lot of openings here for quite a few teams on that northern side, purely because we had so many crossings early on. That really has not been a huge amount of bridge holds. Everybody kind of knows and understands how bridge holds tend to go. You get a couple of elims, but essentially ruin your chances for a late game unless you have an incredibly solid hold. And that's not always possible in these types of games at PMGC, where it is really strong teams that take advantage of any mistake that you might make. So those bridge holds just won't come into effect as much. Circle again over towards that eastern side. Team Spirit gearing up for potentially a strong game, but with Twisted Minds on that high ground, they are sitting pretty.
Yeah, Twisted Minds getting that position. Really nice stuff. BTR on the bikes. Going to be moving in from the northwest side. Oh dear, HORAA coming into contact with INCO and not looking too healthy for it. A nade out forces Sky to go for the peak here, but Wancho finds out that that's maybe not the best idea. Inactive and then Abete both trying to handle it. The heal comes through, but Sky's there for the flush. Finds another. This guy is on a tear now against INCO. One more player on the upstairs to try and hold him out, but where are the nades? Where's the damage? Inactive down to Sky. Now, it's just the one player on the inside, but Vitali rocks up on the outskirts here, looking to try and control this situation. This is all the way on the northern side, not yet crossed. Vitali, a lot of damage felt from the nade coming through from Mr. Boro. Another one from No Fear on the back lines. Should about do the job, and he lands it. Nenobete still on the top floor. They know he's there. It's only a matter of time, but the question is, how many does he take with him? Because Sky eats some damage from a nade, needs to bandage up.
Yeah, it's a really nice nade coming through from Mr. Boro on the outside. I'm actually surprised the first one hit. I was even more surprised that the second was on target. Nice nade from Nenobete. Still trying to get that damage done. He's forced in a situation where he has to fight. He's looking for this elims. The rest of the players are protecting off the back of it so they can maintain at least 3 players. They know they'll need that going into the future, but it is getting late in the game. Luckily, they'll get that reset with some of the death crates here, with some of that medication on board. They're likely going to have to drop some of that util to make room for stims as well as first aid kits, but that is a lifeline that they desperately needed.
Alpha 7 again on the push bikes. It seems to be the vehicle of choice. Obviously, if you're going for a swim rotate in general, it's a good idea to bring those bikes with you. Be able to get a little bit of speed. If you keep control of your hand, Revo, there's a crate there. Watch out. He's trying to figure out how to ride a bike. He's learned. But it seems, yeah, he needs a little bit of BMX training.
It's the last stages of the game now. I think for Sosnovka, mid-game passes pretty quickly because it is majority of the case of just teams trying to get into position as opposed to teams fighting for position. It's just teams trying to get a spot to play. So you head towards that late game quite quickly where it is just teams set up and then start fighting as a full 4-man squad. Good hold from ZEUS. Again, I think this is one of the few times where I think a hold like this is possible because for Muerte, coming into stage 4, they have to make a decision, right? Which is, we have to send it, and they can't elongate a fight over on the bridge. So it's nice for ZEUS to take that hold now. I think it's one of the few times where it actually makes sense to. What a hard shift, though. Down towards the southwest. Completely cuts out any chance of a good game for Twisted Minds. That is so sad for this team, and they set themselves up so well in this match. A really good early rotation for them as well, only for them to all go awry on stage 4.
It's unfortunate that ZEUS left this hold when they did, but they are going to turn their attention back to the bridges here. Rita takes a lot of damage. That's from Twisted Minds up the top of the hill, as they will get the knock, and No Fear chimes in to get that final bullet in on the mark, and will find the knock, get that flush. Unfortunate for ZEUS. If they'd have held their positions for a little bit longer, they would have been able to deal with HORAA, and they wouldn't have taken the shots from Twisted Minds. But as it stands, they're not going to be able to do that. Unfortunately, busted down to 3. A very late approach from HORAA spells disaster, losing their 4th player.
Yeah, I think for HORAA, it's kind of painful in a situation where you look to make your way across that. They took that fight with INCO. It was well played. This was always going to be a case of attempting to get in. I think personally they would have been better off making a wide wrap over towards the western side as opposed to going for this east one. Yes, this is the closest to the circle, but it's where you're going to meet against most of the teams. I think heading over towards potentially that north side where there is a bit of a hill where BTR is, they could have got a backstab on that side. It's a greedy push. MIRAEN SEJONG though falling to Major Pride, and it's a team that I definitely did want to see step up in this game to 4 elims already.
Able to do a lot of damage from this south edge. They've been sweeping around for a little bit. MIRAEN SEJONG, one of the teams that had a long way to go in this. Alpha 7, one of the other ones as well, and both of them have been busted down on numbers. MSJ on 2, Alpha 7 on 1. It's been a real tough road. I mean, Muerte were already cut out of it. They were over on that east side, right? It's been a very difficult approach to get in late to this one.
for a lot of teams, it's definitely not been easy. I think a couple of squads that drop down towards the south side of the map on the main island, they've had an easier time of it. But with the way the circle's been shifting back and forth and switching over towards the eastern side of the map, now back towards the west, it's caused problems for a fair few squads. And a lot of the best laid plans have just ended up in disaster. BTR on this north side, they have to cross that road, and that road is really quite the tough crossing. And I think for teams on that north side, it will take a little bit of a miracle to make their way through. They could play over towards silos on the western side, just above loops, but that does put you in a situation where you are forced to fight out for the rest of your game.
It's a very difficult area to navigate. Team Spirit going to hold off on the northeast side. Kitsune regrouped up towards them. BTR are just across and waiting in the wings. HORAA on their last player now. Sky was able to do a lot against INCO. But against Team Spirit in this position, I feel like it's just a little bit less likely to make it work, and Nomi sees to it that nothing gets done. Surprising that BIGETRON didn't really take too much of an angle towards this. And I feel like Team Spirit may be able to figure out that there's players here as they rock up to the hillside. They are into this next circle, controlling the side of the road, and what this allows them to do is spot anyone from that northern side crossing back on over. They'll have that shot as soon as they try and send on through. They'll get early angles and be able to shoot them down late.
It's difficult, and so I mean, just taking a look at, I think DRX actually does have a very strong position, trying to play something similar to what MIRAEN SEJONG does with their 2-2 split. In those sheltered locations towards the center. Those will provide cover for multiple teams, but DRX absolutely cannot hold on to two of them at the same time. Vampires underneath. Coops with the MG3 looking to drop the pain on them. One well-placed grenade could be disaster for Vampires using the hovercraft to get up there.
Oh no!
Okay.
No way. And this is exactly the situation where Twisted Minds can shine blank. This is what we've been missing from them. They get into a fight. They have, I mean, to be honest, they have a massive advantage in that engagement, right? A nade or two will see them safe. It's interesting. Schweppes using that hovercraft, as you say, to slowly creep his way up that hillside. But does manage to get through and actually looking very healthy for it. Twisted Minds, I mean, they find something finally. They're up to 4 limbs.
Yeah, it's a game for them. Maybe they can get themselves into survival stage. I think that would be the best thing. But again, today you need a large match. You need a big chicken dinner for Twisted Minds to make that even a possibility, and then playing through for the rest of the day, because we still have a few games left. Team Spirit up against BTR. Team Spirit, this is a fight that they absolutely should win, though. Considering the way that BTR has been playing and where Team Spirit is in the lobby, I think this is a good litmus test of how Team Spirit's feeling today, because if they're unable to clear BTR out from this angle towards the west, yeah, I'm not too confident in the rest of their day today.
I mean, the difficulty is that Twisted Minds angle, right? It's so hard to move over these hillsides unimpeded. The smokes are there, sure, but in general for Team Spirit, look at the open ground that sits to their south. They kind of have to go for this push against BTR, right? So they are gathering speed, gathering momentum. But this drop down from Twisted Minds allows them to do it a little bit more safely now. So that's an interesting maneuver. I mean, Twisted Minds did have to move, so fair enough to them. But Team Spirit could be opened up a little bit more.
Team Spirit shots taken out towards him. Good shots from Lord. Might be able to get himself behind the tree in time. There is a bit of cover been sent back. Matic will be finished off by Robs, though. That's Team Spirit down to 3. Now puts them in a more precarious situation as they attempt to get over towards the roadside. There's a lot of teams in this area with all angles, all eyes over towards Team Spirit. They have to turn around. They do find a knock onto Lepard to start with. Remember, that guy is the one doing the huge amount of work for BTR. And another over towards Leon coming through from ZEUS. This might be the break that Team Spirit needed.
Nades over the top as well, and that looks good. Oh, it's just a little bit far, just over that ridge line. And the res comes through onto Leon. The pass still down. Nades continue to pour on in over the top line, and that looks good. The spray down from Effect gets 1, gets 2. Satar is still in there, though, and he reads into it. Hits the deck, and Effect with a 1-2-3 punch, able to take them down.
Yeah, really good play from Effect. I mean, that off angle is there, and this is what you expect Effect to do. You need him to be your firepower in the squad, the one that can hit the hard targets, and you put him on that off angle for that exact reason. Without Matic, you don't have that player there who is specialized in that category of playing. Kitsune still bobbling shots over towards the south end here. Now, if they can get over towards Zeus's position, who is pretty unhealthy, you know, they're down to 2 players. I'm pretty sure... not so sure anymore. I thought one of them didn't have any stims, but he seems to be ticking up just a little bit now.
Robs, for Twisted Mind, sat atop the mound. They will need to move west, but so does everybody else. I think Team Spirit have to figure out how to get past this, right? Because this is the high ground that is such a threat to their position, to their rotation. It's going to control so much of the ground. And you're right, though. Zeus may be a little bit more appetizing of a meal for them. But they have to, again, gain momentum to be able to get up to it.
If you are RSG towards Twisted Minds, you're in a sticky spot because you have to fight eventually. Twisted Minds taking shots over towards Major Prize. They make the full-on crawl across. AZ has to get out early, but they do make it through. And it's a hell of a rotate. Surprising that absolutely no damage was sent back through to them. And now Twisted Minds are very much aware of RSG's position underneath them. I think for Team Spirit, the reason they've been so slow on this eastern side is they're looking to pick up more points. They know that, you know, with these types of circles that head back out over towards Airstrip, it's not exactly ideal in terms of their position. No, you know, up close. Yappy.
Oh, no.
That's an easy target for them.
Need to be very careful now for Nomi because this is a very exposed position. Rezzing behind that is not a safe place to be. And you can see he wants a little bit more cover from that watchtower. Twisted Mind's going to launch nades out this direction. They've read into this. They know what's going on. The nade goes out wide, but they're committed to this res for Team Spirit, and they need it as well. Getting him back up to his feet is tantamount to making this game work for themselves or not, but the re-knock from the nade on Lord is there again. They may be able to get this one, but it's just time draining from the resource bar there as the zone pushes them in. And Twisted Mind's going to descend the mound, going to move up into Major Pride territory as well. This is a chance, actually, for Team Spirit to get Nomi back. If he can crawl his way forwards, a nade from Major Pride, and Twisted Minds may have just fallen short of the mark.
Yeah, odd rotate from Twisted Mind. They need to do something a lot sooner, or at least try and get rid of RSG. They put a lot of focus over towards towards Team Spirit in that situation, but they get themselves up to a spot where it is somewhat comfortable to play at least. And great nades from Major Pride, dealing a lot of damage over to RSG, who have been so passive in this game, really not getting too much done at all. 5 elims now for Major Pride, catching back up to MIRAEN SEJONG, who did dismount them from that top position.
In comes Nomi immediately. As soon as he's ready, he's like, right, I'm going to put myself in danger again. It's time to go. And maybe it was the right time to do it. Nomi goes up to the wall as his teammates at the backline getting pinged away there. Kitsune goes down, but Effect is so close, and Twisted Minds will finally fall. Team Spirit looking to take up that mantle. Nomi and Effect, a duo for the teams from EMEA as Major Pride look to try and shut them down. The backline gone as Kitsune is fully eliminated, but the nades move forwards, and there's the shot onto AZ. He has to fall back here, is in danger. More nades pour on over the top as Team Spirit moving over crates. DRX chiming in, the sweep out wide. They want to get engaged, so Major Pride all of a sudden have things turned around. Zeus could third party. Watch out for that high ground, but out comes the fight. As Evo Station and AZ turn their attention to DRX, but there is just no right way to face here. AZ down, and Team Spirit look to sweep around.
Good crunch, good finish as well. Now Team Spirit need to fight another team, and they have been desperate to clear this angle because they know that Zeus is behind them, who did move out from that position to try and catch them off guard. DRX come face to face with another team. Team Spirit continue to send those nades back across. Weren't able to get too much out of those death crates, but they need to move further in. Hyunbin holding a strong spot over towards their western side, but Loops made their way over. Now it becomes difficult for Hyunbin to provide support for that backline that is currently dealing with Team Spirit. It is all systems go now for every single squad.
DRX flexed out to make sure that that fight concluded with all of the teams on the east side being decimated, and now Zeus are chiming in towards Team Spirit's position. They are basically stuck at this point, so the regroup back in from DRX is good. The flex out was great. I really, really like that from them. They didn't quite get rid of Team Spirit, but they've done enough to make them not a threat anymore.
And with Nomi down, Zeus were able to get a very nice off angle onto him. The circle's not pushing in yet, though. I think Effect understands that, you know, for Nomi, he's a goner. It moves up. He is so visible to this squad.
See him.
Kaise just turns around. He sees all of them. Dude. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Okay. Yeah, he knows and immediately has to go for the fight. As soon as he was spotted, he was dead, so he knew he just stood up and went for that fight, maybe get a knock and an elim. But 11 eliminations in the 4th place for Team Spirit is great for them. 10 elims, though, for DRX, and they are looking to keep this one rolling. Loops may have been a little bit too slow to take this one away from them.
Yeah, they made that initial push and it just didn't work out. And I think that they made the right call. They saw that DRX had pushed back over towards the east, and I think at that moment they had to make an aggressive push over towards Hyunbin's position. And they just refused to do it, rather sending back over towards that position on the northwest side, and DRX is given all the time in the world to make this work. I think Neil Zada is the real key to this fight, right? He could be an agonizing thorn in the side for DRX to be able to hit one of these nades off over towards them.
DRX from the high ground on the mound. Loops trapped on the inside of these buildings, right? And that's the advantage that DRX have, even though both teams are on the opposite sides. Unless we get something really special from Neil Zada. A couple of nades in the right place, maybe. ZEUS getting up into 3rd place. I think that's a successful game. 5 eliminations, 3rd place. You'll be happy with that. As Neil Zada, they know he's close by now, and you can see DRX readapting to that.
Yeah, some good nades, a lot of damage. I mean, at this point in time, you'd want Loops to regroup with him. You know there's a fantastic amount of damage going over the top side. Neil Zada's providing that information back. They have the first aid kit. They can't prevent a full man push here from Loops. And that's the sort of information you have to be going off the back of. And this is why DRX is playing so aggressive right now, is because they're scared, they're terrified.
What is this?
They know that a shot should be coming through. Rafina makes a wild play up the watchtower. It's confusing from Loops. Finally, I mean, Neil Zada has really been the king of this lobby at the moment. He has been the one that's been providing so much support for Loops to even enable a finishing fight like this. Finally, Vitin sends through.
Will the watchtower pay out? DRX are getting cut through. This is only one player now remaining on the high ground. I cannot believe that Rafinha was able to make that dash up the tower against DRX with full sight lines over towards it on a blind staircase. The drop down and it's only kike save versus Nino and Rafinha from the high ground. As they find the flush onto Hyunbin, the drop down, and SEJONG is in action, but the light up from Nino is there. SEJONG needs to win the trade, but the challenge is too much. And he just can't make it work. DRX may have had this one stolen away in the final moments. Loops have been almost silent in this lobby. The heal comes through and SEJONG needs to win this challenge. The drop down from Rafinha comes through. He's in a 1v2. The breakout wide. Can he spot Nino? The blue zone pushing all of them as the shots ring in. As Rafinha marches his way towards the last player of DRX. Nino pushed out on the blue zone. Finds the long corner here. But will SEJONG outlast?
He knows that Rafinha's above him, drops out into the blue, and Nino will be the one to finish up the fight there. Again, for Loops, that fight does not go that way without having Neil Zada on that front line, right? He made that game possible because it was the case where Neil Zada doesn't keep him locked in like that. You do see the rest of DRX be able to get out from that situation, drop the smokes down, potentially get up towards that tree cover. It was a weird one. It was a weird one to watch from Loops' side of things. I feel like that could have gone one of many different ways.
It's so unfortunate. And I can't believe that they allowed Rafinha to go up towards the top there. A low elimination count, but it is nonetheless a chicken dinner for Loops.
Well, finally, another team from Brazil does show what they've got. They finally get themselves on the board. It wasn't, like we heard the caster say, the biggest of wins, but a win nonetheless. And that's honestly maybe exactly what they needed, to break the ice for them, to get their mental state in the right position. But then again, South Korea, man, DRX. Like, if it wasn't SEJONG, it's gonna be DRX, and it's just it's continuing to be the South Korea domination.
It feels like 2 games in a row. We're like, Alpha 7, Loops, good game. But South Korea, though, it's twice in a row. Like, really good match from DRX, especially the amount of control that has been shown from DRX on the eastern side here. Hodjux was so strong. Against RSG, there was Twisted Minds, there was Team Spirit, so many teams just sending everything they could over there. And DRX just, the way they were rotating and following the calls of the IGL was so clean that they could react to pretty much anything this match. So DRX, dude, looking to compete with MSJ.
It's that South Korean synergy, baby. It is on point this season because, I mean, yeah, you see DRX playing together as a squad, pushing one team at a time and just executing them one by one. And we even saw a possible 1v2 there from ZEUS. He almost had a shot with that blue zone pushing him out, but, you know, Loops pulling off a chicken dinner. And like you said, there's an old saying, right? A win is a win